Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto is performing a summoning technique without a contract lands part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Naruto Uzumaki, age 11, was thoroughly bored stiff. He'd been trying to practice the clone technique, the bunshin, and no matter how much chakra he put into it, nothing worked. His transformation was much better, really that just worked. Apart from forming the picture of what he wanted, it was the easiest thing in the world. It was a good thing he'd kept his instruction sheet on that one. It really was easier with the ram seal than the reverse ram that everyone else used. And they still had to use the other two hand seals. Pity the clone didn't work the same way. Taijutsu training, no thanks. It always hurt performing his stances, the positions involved were too awkward. Oh well, if he wanted to be a Kage, the thing he needed wasn't silly little clone techniques, or something. It was big, flashy attacks that beat anything. Just like the fourth did to all the stone ninja back in the last war. Man, but the fourth was cool. Suddenly his ears pricked. He'd heard a slight rustling. Carefully moving as quietly as he could, he saw some old guy in the top of a tree. The guy was looking away from him, and Naruto admitted to himself that was probably for the best. He was pretty great at hiding, but anyone old who was still a ninja could probably spot his flashy orange jumpsuit in a second. Deciding to see what old guy was going to do, Naruto stayed as still as he could manage. He was quickly rewarded. Old guy bit his thumb, made a series of hand seals, a real technique. Naruto paid attention like he never had in class, memorizing the seal sequence, and slapped his hand on the ground, producing a puff of smoke, and a toad the size of a small room. Awesome. Old guy spoke to the toad for a minute, then vanished off towards the wall. The toad hopped off in a different direction, seeming to be headed for the Hokage Tower. Wait a sec, the old guy summoned a toad. That must mean he was one of the awesome ninja that Irika talked about a few months ago, the ones that could summon animals. And if old guy could summon toads, then he was, like the fourth. All the pictures of the fourth's final battle were of him on the back of a huge toad. Naruto grinned. Now he knew the secret to summoning toads too. He was another step closer to being awesome like the fourth. No time like the present. Naruto focused his chakra as hard as he could, bringing an aura of blue light up around his body. He was going to get this right. Bite thumb. 5 hand seals, and Naruto Uzumaki vanished in a puff of smoke. Kane, a fox roughly the size of a large wolf, bounced through the underbrush to where his senses led him. Whatever had happened, it was unusual, and unusual was either or both of worrying and fun. He'd been nearby when the chakra flare signaled someone was entering the forest of confusion, and couldn't help but go and look. Whoever said that curiosity killed the cat hadn't met one of the fox clan. Bounding lightly over a fallen tree, he skidded to a halt a few feet short of what appeared to be a human, though it was a little smaller than the old stories and a great deal better dressed. Orange was a fox color, and that was okay with Kane. He hadn't walked in, that was for sure. He wasn't covered in the paint/tar/feathers/mud/slime/anything that would fit in a trap that would indicate that he had. Kane made up his mind, and walked over. So, where'd you come from then? And so then, it looked awesome, and I tried it, and there was a poof but not the normal poof of a normal jutsu, and then I felt kinda weird and I was here. Naruto babbled. Interesting, it occasionally happens, someone tries to perform a summon without actually having a contract, and they end up in a summon realm themselves, Kane mused. This was interesting. Tell you what, could you channel as much chakra as you did to bring yourself here? Naruto nodded silently, and formed the ram's seal. After a moment, a blue current of visible chakra formed around him, before being joined by 2 others. Stop! Stop! Kane called, and the swirling wind that had begun subsided. The fox shook his head wryly. Imagine you have more chakra right now than most full-grown ninja. At least, you channeled more than most probably could, so you may have yet more in reserve. You said that this was the first technique that really worked for you? The boy nodded, not surprised, with that much. Bad points for that. You'll always have trouble with controlling that amount of power, and probably it would be best if you got to training to correct that control problem right away. That clone technique you mentioned having trouble with might be forever beyond you. Good news though, is that by the time you're fully mature you'll probably have more chakra than you could possibly use up. And of course, it means you're one of the rare ninja who could use the full potential of a contract already. He grinned heartily. Might also explain why you seem to have ADHD on the order of a young Fox clan member. At that, Kane broke off, and looked up. When did you climb that tree? Just now. Felt like it. Yep, thought so. Well, let's go and meet the older and wiser foxes. Naruto clambered down the tree. You mean talking foxes have an old man Hokage as well? Perhaps, depends on who this old man Hokage is. Turned up here you say? A small, clearly elderly Arctic fox that was apparently, at least for short, called Mendiaz asked. Kane nodded. Accidental reverse summon, I think. Remarkable. That means his closest affinity for animals is with foxes, which could well be a good thing for us. Mendiaz cracked some joints and walked over to Naruto. Mind if I have a little of your blood? I could tell a lot about you from it. Okay, sure. I heal kinda fast anyway, so it's not a problem. The boy offered his hand, and Mandiaz delicately drew a thin cut along the ball of the thumb before licking up some of the resultant blood. He smacked his tongue. Lots of chakra, this blood feels like it should be flammable, there's so much. Wind affinity, nice secondary and earth traces of unnatural heritage. Nothing special, not much power in it, and a tint of. Mandiaz looked up, and met eyes with Kane. Yukai. Red. I think we found where the boss ended up since last time she got summoned. Watch a mean boss, old fox guy, Mandiaz sighed. Ever heard of a spirit called the Kyubi no Kitsune? Yeah. The awesome 4th Hokage beat it when it attacked my village, about 11 years ago. He's supposed to have killed it or something, but it killed him as well. Naruto looked unhappy for a moment, but then, I guess it's not all bad, because it means he really was the best ninja in the world if he beat the Kyubi. The Arctic fox looked incredulous for a moment, then bashed his head against a tree. Stupid. I should have known something was wrong. Alright. Naruto. The Kyubi no Kitsune, being fox-shaped, is a spirit that's close enough to one of us that we're on the same summon scroll. Last time she? Naruto frowned. You've never met an annoyed female, I take it? Naruto considered for a moment. Thinking about it, actually, Sakura was the scariest person he knew. Okay, you win. Thank you. Now, she was summoned last almost 60 years ago, and wouldn't you know it, but she hasn't been seen since. Now, I don't know what happened between then and the time she attacked your village, but I think I know what happened since. When were you born? October 10th, the same day the Kyubi attacked. Right. I think you're being used as a prison for her. Naruto blinked. What? You've got to be kidding. I mean, I'm not evil, and, I said a prison? You're not the Kyubi. If you were, your chakra would be pure red. Your system's tinted with red, but it's also got just a hint of the gold of a celestially touched. You're human as I am fox, but Naruto stuttered. If that's true, then wouldn't you want to let her out? Mandiaz smiled gently. I have no intention of doing so. Either she was being controlled in some way, in which case we need to stop it before finding some way to let her out again safely, or she actually tried to destroy your village, in which case she thoroughly deserves her time out. Naruto giggled, partly in shock but mostly because the idea of the most powerful spirit of pure destruction the world knew of in a time out was hilarious. I would like you to meet Kuda, the pipe fox, and our scroll guardian Lani. Evening. Kuda muttered, seeming half asleep. Lani looked over on hearing Mandiaz's voice. Oh, a human? How did he get here? Mandiaz smiled. Accidental reverse summon. I think he probably needs to get our contract. It's the only way he's getting home. That and he's a natural fox summoner. Do you know he actually manages to regularly prank his village's elite troops? Lani let out a barking laugh. Sounds just like you were. Or I was. Or indeed any of us. But he did it wearing that orange suit against some humans? Nod. Huh. Must be pretty good at hiding his color then. Lani reached into a storage space and pulled out a huge scroll. Right then. Sign with your fingerprints and name, in blood. Hello, that's strange. She looked closely at the scroll. Last summoner's still on here, so he's alive, but the contract's broken. That's not supposed to happen, especially as the person in question would be about 100 by now. Ever heard of an Uchiha Madara? If he's still alive he'd be someone famous. Nope. I know an Uchiha guy, but nobody else like that. Strange. Lani repeated. Ah well, if you would. Splendid. Mandiaz flicked his tail for a moment. Lani, you're the best of us with summoning techniques. How would we be able to get young Naruto back to his home? Lani pulled out some smaller scrolls and began flipping through them. Well, after the first time we can handle the transit easily. Just get the kid to summon Kuda whenever he needs to travel here and then he can handle the reverse summon to get him back where he came from afterwards. This first time though, she closed her eyes for a moment then snapped her claws. Got it. Orochimaru's still the fastest of us, right? Mandiaz nodded. Easily, right. Give him one of our disposable summon scrolls, key it to the kid and send him the long way. Either that, or get him to sneak through the toad's path. Kuda stirred. I will contact him. The pipe fox blew a small puff of smoke that wound lazily off into the trees. Lani, meanwhile, busied herself retrieving the simple summon scroll and connecting it, not to the fox of the Forest of Confusion by the name of _, but to the fox summoner, Naruto Uzumaki. Seeing that brought Naruto a lovely little thrill of warmth. He belonged. Then he noticed Lani staring at the name she'd written. Maelstrom, I wonder. Hey, what is it? She started. Oh, nothing. I suppose it's just a suspicion is all. We won't know if I'm right or not for decades if ever. A blur of light shot in from the direction the smoke had gone, bounced off 2 trees and a branch, and came to rest on the floor as another fox. This one had silver fur, a tail twice as long as his body, and a pronounced squint. Hi, boss. What do you want me to do? Lani finished writing, charged the scroll with as much chakra as she could, and passed it to the silver. Take this to Konoha and use it. Then head back. Orochimaru shook his head. Always courier missions. I don't know why I put that much effort into becoming fast sometimes. Because you are thoroughly impatient. Now get going. Orochimaru shot off into the distance, a flowing ribbon of silvery fur. Ah, game gobo. What did Jiraiya boy want you for? Only message delivery, Sage Fukasaku. I delivered his reports to the Hokage's office, though I was summoned inside Konoha itself. Fukasaku chuckled. Jiraiya always was a bit lazy. Well done anyway. Suddenly, the sage toad snapped his head around as a blur of reflected sunlight caught his eye. Damn foxes, he braced himself. Paint bombs again? Stink bombs? Stealing his staff? Or maybe something fiendish they hadn't tried before, like setting the lake on fire, or he didn't know what. What was that undoubtedly master prankster going to do now the foxes were bored enough again to start their infernal plop? Oh. So it looked like the fox just wanted to use the long-distance travel well. Hey! Come back here, you impolite carnivore! You could at least have asked. Now, remember, all you have to do to summon the right foxes to use at least enough chakra. Try experimenting with that, it won't blow up or anything if you use too little, and focus on the fox you want. Kuda closed his eyes for a second. The kid seems lonely. I'll stay with him if he wants, at least nights. And when he's here, I'll be ready to bring him back. Naruto felt happiness bubble up in him. They were willing to be so much nicer than the villagers. So, that was why they disliked him. But what better way to show them wrong than doing the best he could? Lonnie was nodding thoughtfully. You might have to summon Kane as the signal you're ready to come here instead, then, Naruto. But as Kuda offered, summon him first when you get home to check you're doing it right. Naruto began to reply, and vanished with a wrenching pull into darkness. Before, he'd not actually felt anything much, but with a contract to pull him through it was a lot more intense, and much shorter. He reappeared on top of the Hokage monument, lit by the setting sun. Wow! How far had he gone? If it was sunset here and the sun was still up, albeit getting red there. Thanks, Speedy Fox Guy. No problem, call on me if you need a good prank done. Ikemaru dismissed himself with a poof. Naruto bounded home, incidentally reassuring the ANBU assigned to keep tabs on him that he'd just slipped surveillance again. He did that with distressing regularity nowadays, to the point it was practically considered ANBU initiation to keep track of the hyperactive kid's general whereabouts for some large fraction of a day. Back in his apartment, he closed the curtains, looked around furtively, and steeled himself. Well, here we go. Summoning, the pipe fox appeared in one of the familiar puffs of smoke. Evening again. Bit of a mess, this place. Naruto looked downcast. I don't exactly have a family, so well, I get the idea. Well, you headed to sleep? I'll have supper first. Can't beat ramen. Naruto pulled out a pair of instant ramen cups, frowned, and got out another. Then he looked to his guest. You want one? Kuda had drifted over to the table. How much of this stuff do you eat? Mostly 3 or 4 cups a meal. No, I meant in relation to other things. Naruto blinked. People willingly eat stuff that's not ramen? Night. Naruto muttered, already halfway to a sleep. Kuda watched over him from above, curled around the light hanging. He's so young. It doesn't feel right. That kid should have to fight like this, live like this. I can understand why the Kyuubi was so enraged, but not her methods. Naruto fidgeted in bed, moving in fits and starts, probably having a nightmare, poor guy. Oh, screw it. Kuda drifted down and wrapped himself around Naruto's neck. The warmth seemed to comfort him, and he stopped moving as fiercely. A hand moved up to touch him, make sure he was there. Kuda settled in for the night. Naruto Uzumaki slept with another, making him feel safe, for the first time in his life. Morning Kuda. And thanks, not a problem. Now isn't it time you were somewhere else? Your alarm went off, after all. Oh yeah, Naruto went to have a quick shower, calling out as he turned the water on. You want to come? I might, yes. Though it would be best if you were to allow me to hide on your arm. Would that work? Naruto asked skeptically. I mean, is it more hide-why than normal? I am a Kyudajutsun. I can become a mere marking on the skin, while still able to hear all that is said and see all that I would normally be able to. Kuda remembered who he was talking to. Yes, cool. And I was thinking that I should head over to the Fox Place, the Forest of Mystery. Yeah, there, after the academy. I want to see what awesome things Mandias has for me. Hey, Naruto. Kiba called as the Uzumaki entered the class. Any reason you smell more like fox than normal? Don't mention us, at least not yet. Dunno. Maybe I wanted to dress the part of the trickster more than normal, and went overboard. Kiba laughed. Could be. What's today's prank then? Naruto grinned from ear to ear. Wait and see, Hinata blushed. Naruto was so confident, so full of strength, and there was something moving on him that she hadn't seen before. She could only see that it was moving differently than him, though. His blaze of blue chakra obscured almost all the details. Irika came in, accompanied by Mizuki. Now, class, today we'll look into the third of the Academy basic techniques, the replacement. Bang! Smoke bombs detonated in every pencil drawer in the teacher's desk. Irika sighed. Naruto. Someone must have replaced the erasers. Kinda neat coincidence, huh? I would give you a detention if I weren't honestly impressed that you managed to prime smoke bombs for the exact time I spoke, a day in advance, without my noticing their presence. Instead, I'll make you take your own notes on this class, and they'd better be word perfect, or I will give you that detention. Naruto gulped. Good afternoon, Naruto. Now, there are several things we could work on for you, and I'd prefer it if you were to work hard enough to get them all done as soon as possible. Wow, old man Mandiez. You're gonna teach me stuff? Of course. You're a rare individual, and in any case we haven't had a summoner willing to learn all this before. Our last just wanted to use the QB, not any of our other talents. Now, here's the list. Mandiez unrolled a scroll. On it was pranks, stealth, speed, dodging, control, summons, taijutsu style, wind, earth, yukai, transformation, senjutsu. Naruto licked his lips. It's kinda long. Has to be, there's a lot of stuff to get through. Now, Kuda's report tells me that you're quite good on the first two already, but you need some serious work on the rest. And the quickest way to fix the third one is going to have to wait. So your first training session is going to be in climbing trees with chakra. Ooh, so that's how you guys climb trees and stuff. Exactly. It's one of the training exercises that's useful. There are many that are and many more that aren't. Got it. Naruto ran over to one of the trees and put his foot against it, before focusing chakra. Mandiez winced as the tree collapsed. Might have been a bit much chakra there. Sorry, crash. Still too much? Still too much. Why not start small and work up? Woohoo, Kane glanced up. Oh, hi again. I see you worked out how to stick properly. Yeah. And only the second day too, right. Next thing is to keep it up while you're jumping from place to place. Start practicing at a low level. I'll make sure to catch you if you fall. Good. You have the kind of ability with tree climbing I wanted you to have. Not bad after only 4 days. Now, from now on you will be summoned outside the forests proper. Mandiez gave a fox grin. This means, of course, that you will have to make it through the trapped perimeter. Watch out for mud, paint, small explosives. Well, I'm sure you can guess. You mean a kinda prank obstacle course. Sounds fun. Watch yourself though, kid. Some of these traps are fiendish. I'll be fine. Well, Mandiez? Lonnie asked, joining the elderly fox at his scrying pool. It didn't have much range, but could cover at least the forest's perimeter. Well, he made it past the fake tree made of collapsing paint, and he dodged the jam cannon. Next should be the splat, the sealed trap containing an earth/water dragon? Yep. And he only got splashed despite all the mud, not bad. The small Naruto in the pool, clothes now flecked with brown, came to a small river with a net over it. Not being a fool and noticing the tiny drops of something sticky attached to the net, he went downriver until he found a bridge and began to cross. Wait for it. The bridge elastic released as Naruto took his weight off the first half, which acted as one big trigger catch. Twang! Mandiez looked up from the pool, to see a screaming Naruto fly through the air overhead and land in a lake. I better go get him. Kane volunteered from the other side of the pool. I suppose you might be interested in learning how to walk on water? You mean like Kane did to get me out? That sounds awesome. Right, that's a yes then. Where did all those traps come from, by the way, old fox guy? There were loads of them, and really inventive. Mandiez smirked slightly. Well, we are a mischief totem animal. We're very much into playing tricks, and if someone manages an especially good one it gets added to the perimeter defenses. That both preserves it for the future and makes it so any invader's probably going to be annoyed, tired, soaked and glowing in the dark from all the paint. Right. Your control's about as good as we can get it with water walking. Mandiez shook his head. Naruto's rate of learning seemed to be accelerating. So we're going to try working with your other chakra source. Naruto flinched. You mean? Yes, and don't worry. Worst comes to worst, I can handle the QB. Okay. If you say so, how do I do this? I would recommend trying to draw on more chakra than normal, but I doubt that would be safe here with how large your regular reserves are. I suggest you simply try to feel the same emotions as her, maybe that'll help. Naruto sat in the center of a small depression lit only by fox fire dancing in the trees, frowning in intense concentration. Cory, a fox with strangely translucent fur, stepped up beside his sage. How long has he been trying? It's been 4 hours today. I think there's only one thing to do. Cory flicked his tail. If you say so. He flicked it again, and a fine cloud of downy fur flew off the tip, spreading into a rippling, rainbow-hued mist. Naruto blinked. The world seemed to shimmer, then a puff of smoke surrounded him. So he'd been summoned back to Konoha already? Then the smoke cleared, and his heart leapt into his throat. Kuda was lying on the floor of his apartment, almost cut in half by an indistinct figure with a slim blade. Naruto the little pipe fox seemed to gasp, then fell silent. Naruto clenched his fists. Why did you have to do that, you monster? Monster? The figure chuckled. No, it's you who's the monster. And now your filthy familiar is killed, your power over the Hokage is broken and he'll celebrate like everyone else when I kill you. Naruto barely heard over the roaring in his ears. This could not be allowed to happen. Someone had decided to murder him, in his sleep at that as the hour was so late, and they'd killed his friend when he was helpless. A rush of strength rose up in him, and he lost himself in the sudden intense bloodlust. Mandiez and Cory watched as a volcano of red yukai blasted from the form of their summoner. Cory shook his head. Well, that worked. Mandiez wrapped his tail around the other fox, and pulled him aside as Naruto suddenly charged forward, aiming for something only he could see. Dispel it, now! I already did. Something's wrong. Mandias skidded to a halt, the old fox seeming to shed the weight of ages. Right, our suspicions are confirmed. Tell Lonnie, trigger the emergency clause. The sage's form pulsed, and his eyes began to shine with a faint yellow light. Corey charged off into the distance, aiming for the home of the fox contract keeper. The Arctic fox smiled slightly. At least I can hold her off. Needled Jizo, his fur animated and elongated to several feet in length, and he lunged in an attempt to pin down the enraged form of his summoner. With a splash, Mandias abruptly appeared in a sewer-like water pipe. The water level was fairly low, but easily thigh-deep on the elderly fox. After a moment to refocus on where he was, such as no longer attempting to restrain a berserk Jinchuriki, Mandias floated to the top of the water and shook himself. So Lonnie activated the claws. I'm surprised. This isn't what I expected his mental landscape to be like. The Arctic fox began to trot towards a distant light. As he approached, he differentiated it as two lights, one blue, one red. The red was shifting uncomfortably. He broke into a run. He had his suspicions on why the QB was acting so different to when he last saw her, but there was only one way to find which was correct. Millicent Mahabital Mud. What do you think you are doing? The great red beast looked suddenly puzzled. Ozzy? Then she gave a high, pained fox scream, and the flash of recognition faded. For a moment, Ozymandias, the oldest of foxes, saw a pattern in her eyes. 3 Tomo, chasing one another. I should have known he was only after the contract for the bijou who shares it, he muttered, before lunging forward and taking a small fragment of fresh yukai. Retreating, he swirled it in his maw. 3 separate illusions at least. Emotional letterboxing, false surroundings, and a big memory blocker. Oh ouch, will suppression as well, but only for the purposes of implanting commands by the original caster of the illusion? I am so glad someone removed him from our contract for us. Individually the illusions were merely extremely powerful, but together they covered one another's weaknesses. The false surroundings prevented anything from snapping her out of the others, the memory blocker prevented her breaking it from within, and the emotional constraint made her easily predictable and unlikely to accidentally break the others. Too bad a sage now knew about them. Ozymandias focused his chakra, and began to lens it through his celestial gates, all his usable, sage-augmented chakra for the breaking of one illusion. A fair trade, as such things went, for my power to fight, given up for this task. Let the trap of the body, of twisted world, be broken, for I am not the target, and yet I will resist it. Bend, crack, break. Instantly he was drained, his fur losing much of its luster, and his legs giving out. The QB blinked. That fox definitely looked familiar, and unlike a moment ago it wasn't shouting abuse at her. What just happened? And no matter, it deserved to die anyway. Everything had to burn, destroyed by the lovely flames and the collapsing ground and the waves that made everything so deliciously chaotic, and Millie. The QB frowned. Was that her name? It sounded familiar. The Buddha put out a hit on you. Without thinking, she replied, of course, I knew too little. Then pain crashed through her. Through the screaming headache she heard that maddeningly familiar voice. Your name is Millicent Mahabital Mud. You were born of the yukai shed by the 10-tailed beast's destruction 1,000 years ago. I was your friend, in our childhood and beyond. Damn. This voice had to be causing her the pain. Someone had hit her with an illusion. The pain increased at that thought, and her thoughts wavered. But there was really only one solution someone could accept when the word illusion came up like this. She wrenched her yukai into a scramble pattern, and after a moment of resistance something broke. Outside, Naruto collapsed on the forest floor. Okay, what the hell happened next? Mandias, as he explained he preferred still to be called, had finished explaining the first 9 centuries of life of the greatest of the 9 bijou, as well as his own part in it as a brother not by blood. After that, none of us know. Uchiha Madara got the summon contract at only about age 25, and he was a great deal of fun at that time, but after a short time he stopped calling us, only bringing out Millie when he needed something broken. We think that he eventually overused her. This would be about 70 years ago, and she either protested or just was a bit scatterbrained, and he ensnared her in that horrible illusion web. That's probably the time he started using her in serious battle. Since we know the wood release bloodline suppresses yukai, the reason she was docile under its influence was likely just lack of strength. Since then nothing we can tell. Millie's memory is a bit spotty since the first illusion. He shifted a little. Good thing is, though, that now the only disadvantage of using her chakra is basically the sheer potency of it could still burn your system. That as a problem should fade as you get used to more of it. Consider it a trump card for now. A slight grin. And if you want to keep her happy, just be interesting. Preferably pranks. I can do what? Yep. Each of the bijou has a talent born of their ridiculous amounts of chakra, and their personality. Millie, being so mercurial in thought, could shape change, and so can you. Your regeneration comes from just constantly low-level shifting into your own form. Now, as you can imagine, that's a useful little trick. Hang on, does that mean that everyone else's transformation is just a disguise? Of course. Otherwise people would turn into monsters for a fight, or insects to scout, or birds to travel long distances. And I could do all that? Indeed. Even inanimate objects, I think. Naruto began to chuckle, and everyone in Konoha simultaneously got a chill down the back of their necks. Kajura, medium-sized, has the ability to coat herself in fire. Oki, small, able to generate water. Doko, very small but can allow the use of the underground move technique to any one other person as well as himself, so long as they're in contact. Good. It's important to know your summons, more so as the foxes can't use hand seals and all their arts are based off pure chakra control, each taking many years to perfect. They're all unique. Yeah, it's kinda like academy lessons but a lot less boring, I guess. Especially when I can actually meet them. I know that history'd be a lot less boring if I knew the people involved. That's why I paid attention in the lesson about the founding. I kinda know about Madara after all. They didn't mention his foxes. Is that because he didn't use you or what? He stopped using us before he was 30, which may have been before the founding. I assume they mentioned only that he used Millie. Well, they would have said the Kyuubi? Yeah, in a big fight against the first Hokage 60 years ago. I think he's supposed to have died at age 40, and it all fits together. That's when Millie never returned. Let's see, death for a tailed beast is temporary. They're too strong. Anything more than about 2 tails of power would detonate anything non-living as a container, and 3 also exceeds anything non-human. So, the logical conclusion is that you're not the first container. Actually, 9 tails of power is a ridiculously large amount of chakra. I think it's only your heritage that's protecting you there. How does the tail measuring thing work? I thought we went over this. Each additional tail of power represents a doubling. So the idea is that the sage, the container of the 10 tails, split much of its power into 9 packets of chakra, 1 to 9 tails worth. Not sure where the rest is, could just be slack in the main packets, but it's going to be anything from just nosing a tail of chakra to well over 9. Adding powers of 2 like that can be strange. Naruto snickered. They were never going to figure this one out. He had spent a few hours scouting out the restaurant and a distillery, and had managed to find a few bottles of sake that were thrown out when a batch was improperly produced. A little time in the fridge for the sake, freezing out the water content, and he had some of the most potent alcohol in the elemental countries. Placing his doctored bottle next to him, he made sure it was visible from the till and shape-shifted into another bottle. A quick double replacement later, and his Everclear strong sake bottle was among the collection for meal refreshment. Now to wait until someone ordered it. A series of crashes came from the restaurant, and a horde of patrons charged out. They were followed by a girl with her hair in buns, a long-haired person that was probably a boy, and a tall man in green spandex who all left by the window. As Naruto moved around to get a better look, he overheard them talking. Apparently, someone had gotten drunk from merely the fumes and promptly gone berserk. He giggled to himself, and in the back of his mind he heard a high fox laugh. Listening? Good. Now, to learn this, you have to be able to be absolutely still. Mandiaz curled his tail tighter around the gnarled walking stick. And if you're not absolutely still, or you do this wrongly, I will sadly have to hit you in the face with this cane. Okay. What's it do? And where'd you get it? Well, bad things happen if you try and channel natural energy while moving. And the stick stops the bad thing. I pinched it from the Frog Clan a few decades ago. I understand the former owner was very annoyed. Oh well, not everything works straight away. Naruto scowled. He could channel nature energy, but he couldn't retain it when he started moving again. If he wanted to use his newly enhanced chakra, he would be pinned to a single spot on the ground, though fortunately he could at least move his arms. And look on the bright side, this means you can summon me now. Naruto blinked. Huh, and I thought we went over this. A sage who has used nature chakra for centuries, such as myself, becomes part of the natural world to a sufficient degree that they cannot be summoned by mere normal human chakra. And using Yukai would be contraindicated from the point of view of stealth. Perform the Bunshin, Naruto. Why not something else, something I actually have the control to perform? It's not my fault that half a year of intensive chakra exercises can't change that. I have enough chakra to move Konoha to a new site, and the Bunshin takes you about 1/5000th of 1% of my. Irika interrupted his student's rant. The Bunshin, Naruto. Making excuses isn't going to help you in a real fight. Naruto muttered to himself about the Bunshin being not helpful in a proper fight either, then dutifully channeled the smallest amount of chakra he actually could and formed the seal. Bunshin. 3 half-dead replicas appeared, each on about 5 times the normal chakra requirement. That was completely amazing as far as he was concerned, as that pegged his relative control as being able to actually perform anything, not a flimsy little illusion only useful against civilians. Naruto Uzumaki, fail. I'm sorry, Naruto, but there's a reason they're the basics. Maybe try again next year? Mizuki tried to argue for him, but Irika cut him off. He is probably afraid of showing favoritism, especially since others might conclude you are influencing him to allow you to pass. Kuda was probably right all well. Nothing said he couldn't try again in another year, after all. But by that point he'd have done so much chakra control exercise he'd be spare. There is another way to pass, you know. Naruto listened. Steal the scroll of forbidden seals? Learn something from it? It sounded too good to be true. Surely there were some techniques on the scroll with no reason for being forbidden but massive chakra cost? It probably is too good to be true. He smells dishonest. But go along with it. Naruto crept through the nighttime Hokage tower, searching carefully for the scroll. Where was it? Trouble, the boy whirled. Ah, hello old man Hokage. I guess you caught me, huh? Well, no problem. I'll definitely have time to pass with this. Naruto scored his first victory over an enemy in a thoroughly unconventional manner, and with Kura's laughter hissing in his ears he legged it with the scroll. First Wanu. Taiju Kage Bunshin? Shadow clones drain large amounts of chakra, and the multiple variant of the technique makes this drain all the more intense. Memory backlash? Solid clones? This means, Naruto pumped his fist. This is perfect. Goodbye, weak point, it's better than that. As of when you learn this, your clones are a strength. Right. Okay, seals only 3? Neat, going to learn something else? Naruto sat back on the floor, a little tired but triumphant, and began to channel nature chakra, making him temporarily a sensor, as his early warning system. I'll have a look. Shiki Fujin? Nope, why are there so many damn suicide techniques? A technique that just kills you. Wah-aha! Spiral wind cannon. Massive drain, wind-natured obviously, takes a hell of a lot of control. Ah well, good to have something to shoot for and with. Of course, Kuda, can you memorize the page? I think we're nearly out of time. Hi, Iruka-sensei. I did the special test Mizuki mentioned. Does it have to be him who grades me or can you do it now? Iruka blinked. Special test? Mizuki's laughter rang in the trees, as he explained at great length how he'd managed to trick the boy who was really a demon in disguise. Honest, I mean just look at him, that shade of blonde can't be natural, and besides it was obvious because the boy had. Naruto tuned him out and bit his thumb. Summoning, death from above, a fox the size of a building appeared and flattened Mizuki. So, sensei, should we take the scroll back now? Iruka blinked. You just summoned a fox. Yeah, I kinda found out that if you try and copy the summoning technique with no contract, strange stuff happens. Most interesting, Naruto. Why did you not inform me of this contract before? Well, I was kinda busy training. They're a lot better at teaching than the academy teachers, though I guess that if Mizuki's one of them it's not a surprise. Right. Well, I think that to fail someone with a contract who knows how to use it would just be silly. You've graduated, Naruto. And I'd be interested in hearing how these foxes differ from the other summons I've met. Wow. How many types have you seen? Well, not counting the ones I met across the battlefield, I have the monkey contract. Appropriate, I suppose. And then there's the toads, the snakes and the slugs held by my 3 students, the sanin. They must have been awesome. How did they get theirs? Well, Jiraiya got his by accident. He saw me summoning and decided to copy me, but as he had no contract he was teleported to Mount Myaboku, the realm of the toads. Naruto fell off his seat laughing. Oh, that's just priceless. The sheer irony of it, bwahaha. I mean, what are the odds? The Sandaime looked concerned. Naruto, are you okay? A voice spoke. He'll be okay once it's out of his system. Greetings, Hokage of Konoha. I am Kuda, Pipe Fox, and I inhabit his skin during the day as an animate tattoo. The reason he is laughing is that is exactly how he obtained us as summons. There aren't any shortcuts to being a ninja. I would recommend, though, that you ask your grandfather what his summons, the monkeys, think of the best path to strength. After all, they're gonna be yours one day, right? Konohamaru grinned. Yeah. That's right. I'll be a ninja in the monkey way, and that'll beat you any day. Naruto matched his grin. You want to say that again, Chimpy? Foxes are good too. We'll settle it when we fight over who gets to be Hokage. Ebisu stroked his chin. Well, that's one way to put it. Hopefully the Honorable Konohamaru, will actually listen to me now. Better see the Hokage about that summons idea, though. It makes entirely too much sense to be ignored. Hey! While we're waiting, why don't I introduce you guys to my summons? Sasuke frowned. You have a summon? The person who only passed by an act of God. Naruto scowled. I told you, the teacher was looking for a reason specifically to fail me. But anyway. He sat down cross-legged on the grass, and closed his eyes, feeling for the natural energy of the world. Naruto! You're not supposed to be going to sleep, that ought to be enough. He bit his thumb and flashed through the seals for his favorite technique. Summoning, old guy. Mendiaz appeared in a puff of smoke. Morning, Naruto. Are these your new pack, teammates then? Yeah. That's Sasuke, he's pretty good and supposed to be from a clan, but an amo. And that's Sakura, who's really strong, but only when hitting me. Hee, Mendiaz frowned. Indeed? He turned to the other 2 genin. Tell me, would you 2 mind if I were to have a taste of your blood? Sakura cringed. EW. Why would you even ask something like that? Naruto, if your summons are all like this. Naruto waved his hands. No, it's not like that. It's really handy. When he did it with mine, he was able to tell what affinity I was, as well as anything else unusual. Sasuke wordlessly walked over, slit the ball of his thumb with a kunai, and passed it to the fox. Thanks. Lightning and fire, interesting, a very strong attacking pair of elements. Pretty good chakra reserves, a tinge of black chakra, I wonder where a blood limit, Eye-based, active but trauma-locked? What? Sasuke was glaring now. What do you mean, trauma-locked? Mandias met his gaze. Your blood and the chakra in it has a slight taste of an active power, but it's not been used in years. Since you're not an idiot, that means it's traumatically locked. You might not even have noticed it activating. Now, as I was saying, you have a small amount of non-human chakra. It's not exactly rare, Naruto has it too, but since yours is black you might want to be careful as you'll be easier to mentally influence than normal. You can train to overcome that, but if I didn't mention it you wouldn't have known. Sasuke went over to a stump and sat on it in annoyance, thinking over what the fox had said. Well, there's an easy way to check if he's right. Get our very late sensei to give me a chakra affinity test. Sakura, meanwhile, had hesitantly walked over. Can I? Go ahead. The Arctic fox nodded regally. Sakura copied Sasuke, making a small incision in her thumb and passing the kunai to Mandias. The fox took it in his tail and licked the blade. His eyes widened. Saints Naruto! Who put your team together? This is ridiculous. I was considered to have passed last because of the Mizuki thing. Sasuke's the best in the year and Sakura's the best kunoichi. Right, because if this were the weird chakra club it would be less strange. He turned to Sakura. What are your parents like as ninja? Sakura was getting worried. They're civilian. Your chakra's the strangest I've ever felt. It's about normal in amount, but it's split between two types. A small pool that's the one you can normally use, and a bigger one that's well, you're not entirely human either. You've got a strong gold chakra tint and 2 chakra pools. I assume you've got an internal dialogue sometimes? Sakura flinched. Thought so, it's nothing to be ashamed of. You, Sakura, have divine heritage. Potent divine heritage, strong enough to be usable. I dare say that with a little practice, you could switch around your traits on the fly. He licked the kunai again, water-natured at the moment, but that's not something that's set in stone. Mandias shook his head. And I thought things were strange before all 3 of you could have true names. You could all learn them by 30. 20 even. This is ridiculous. Old guy. What should we do while we wait? Mandias flicked his tail. Stratagem 28. Oh yeah? Kage Bunshin. A massive horde of Narutos appeared and began busily messing around with the forest, grass, lake and everywhere else they possibly could. Sakura frowned. Lure them onto the roof, then take away the ladder? What do you mean? The clones are trapping the place. If this sensei of yours wants to give you a test, let him have one of his own. Time passed. Sakura and Sasuke asked Mandias for more information on their apparent lineages. Naruto's 1,000 clones set up ever more elaborate traps, including some which would have been impossible without parts of the machinery being shape-shifted clones. Naruto dropped back down next to his team. This is ridiculous. Okay, guys, the place is about as trapped as I can make it without being obvious, and I checked, he's not near enough for me to sense, which means he's not in the training ground. You're a sensor now? Only when I'm not moving and have some time to concentrate. Hey, old guy. Any of the foxes that might work well with these guys? Mandias frowned. Tell me, Sasuke. Do you know any techniques? The Uchiha nodded. Fire. Right, I think air for him, and as for Sakura, summon Nii for her. Got it. Summoning. Assistance. As the other foxes appeared in bursts of smoke, Mandias shook his head. Must you always say something silly as part of the summon? Why yes I must. Naruto turned to the 2 foxes thus summoned. The larger one, about the size of a normal fox, had a smooth but unusually large tail. The other was about 5 inches long, and had dichromatic eyes. Nii, can you help Sakura here with her other personality? You'll be working with the duck-haired guy. He's got fire attacks. Yipped. Fire attacks? Yay, and what use are you? Sasuke grumbled. I do by gusts of wind. Sasuke's eyes widened. Yeepee. Great big boom. Nii trotted over to Sakura. So, you have another personality? Let's have a look. Sakura blinked, and was in a field of grass. Nii, beside her, barked softly to get her attention. Welcome to the inside of your mind. I'm impressed, by the way, it's a lovely place. Now, there should be another person here if you have 2 personalities. Sakura looked around, before a call came from the distance. Hey! Good to see you finally made it, other me. Sakura walked over, this one moving with more confidence and a jaunty spring in her step. Ah, good. Now, the 2 of you need to work out how to exchange places. In my case, it's as simple as mental effort alone by now, but that's after much practice. Looking at the 2 of you, I'd say one is power, combat strength and so on, and the other is knowledge, control, etc. Being able to exchange between the 2 would be a great benefit, and all you would need to do to be well-rounded is develop both equally. The Sakura of perfect control pointed towards a chair near where she'd appeared. That work? The other, inner Sakura nodded. May I? Go ahead. I'll let you know when we need to swap again. After this, you should be able to make it in here more easily. Just ask Naruto to summon me again if you need help. She puffed into smoke. Sakura blinked. Naruto and Sasuke were looking at her, concerned. It work? Hell yeah! Now, let's see. She moved over to a tree. Naruto gulped. Not that one, it's trapped. No, that one's trapped too. And that you know what? I'll show you the one that's not. Right, let's do this. Sakura punched the tree and left a dent. Quite a deep dent at that. Sasuke blinked. Scared now. Hee hee, so much for being terrible at sparring. To get the bells, you will need to come at me with intent to kill. Naruto twitched an eyebrow. You made us wait 3 hours for this? Now, don't be like that. Go! Sasuke shot a small fireball at Kakashi before moving back with Naruto and Sakura. An Era jumped up from his feet, producing a strong wind with his tail that fanned the fireball to huge size. Kakashi took a moment to realize that the three were moving as a group rather than separating, before jumping for cover from the fireball. Was that a fox I saw? He was cut off as he reached the edge of the small clearing and all hell broke loose. Paint, jam, water, some kind of gunk that got harder when hit, tar, feathers, more paint, treacle, academy glue, high-proof alcohol, grass, mud and hundreds of academy-grade kunai and shuriken went everywhere. Sakura and Sasuke watched in fascination as Naruto's breathing steadied and his eyes became orange-rimmed. After a moment, his eyes opened and they saw they had become slit yellow. He's near the lake. I have a plan. We need to get me into close combat. And I also know how to pass all of us. Shadow clones can change shape, he said, downplaying his ability slightly. So we can just fake a bell or two. So long as we have at least one, he won't be able to tell which of us has no bell. He stood up, his sage marks fading instantly, and the three of them set off. Sasuke thought it over. If we can drive him to the lakeshore, then we can pincer him against it. Won't work, sorry. Experienced ninja can walk on water. I can too, but that's because of massive control training to try and let me manage the clone. And it still didn't work. Okay. Mind teaching me how? Later, I'll be happy to. Maybe we can try that tomorrow before our sensei arrives. So, I'm thinking we try and do straight taijutsu with me, my clones and Sakura, while Sasuke and Era blast him if he does go for the lake. Sasuke nodded. Got it. Where's Era? Naruto formed the seals again. Here, now. The fox appeared in the arms of a shadow clone. Take Sasuke to the other side of the lake, disable the traps as you pass. Bring in other clones. That clone and Sasuke separated from Naruto and Sakura. Give him 2 minutes, then we go in. Kakashi ducked, dodged, and more or less effortlessly dismantled the horde of shadow clones swarming him. Upon seeing one moving in a slightly different manner, he decided to see if it was the real one and grabbed it, twisting that Naruto's arm. Something moved in the periphery of his vision. The Naruto in question blurred for an instant, and became Sakura, who punched him so hard he went flying out over the lake. Grand fireball, whoosh. Yay, then there was fire. The three genin candidates looked at the Jonin as he vanished underwater, a hiss arising as it extinguished the wind-boosted fire on his clothes. Naruto took the opportunity to toss the other two a bell each. Here, Sasuke frowned. You sure at least one of these is real? The boy nodded. Yeah. Kuda's head poked out of his sleeve. This guy here's a pipe fox, and can meld with my skin to form a mobile tattoo. He nabbed them in the second before Sakura replaced with me, and bingo, Era bounced around. We got to set things on fire and do something useful. Sasuke hid a grin. The Uchiha liked the fox's attitude to explosions, and felt that Era would make a good collaboration partner. His mind filled with an image of beating Itachi by using a collaboration technique. After all, that was one thing his brother lacked, partners. Well, that's a pass, good teamwork. That's all I was looking for, Naruto snickered. Nice way of showing it, sensei. And need any help getting the fluorescent orange paint off? Kakashi twitched. No. The treacle? I can handle it myself, thanks. The tar? Feathers? Ooh, jam. I didn't think that one would work. Kakashi snapped his fingers, and suddenly his clothes were unsoiled. Wow. How did you do that? Naruto asked, fascinated. Kakashi gave an eye smile. Trade secret. One I don't think you three monsters are ready to learn. Sakura frowned, and blinked. Her form's posture changed from being poised for movement to a less active state, and she formed a seal. Kai! Kakashi's hinge dispelled and revealed he was still splattered with the ammunition of a dozen traps. He twitched again. Monsters. Naruto gave a dazzling smile. Nice work on the switch, Sakura. That's going to be a real surprise for someone if they think they have us figured out. Kakashi coughed, henge back up. It wavered as Sakura fired another dispel, but remained the same. Sasuke frowned. You have more than one henge up, don't you? 17. The Jonin replied happily, before rounding on Naruto. Summons? Accident a year ago. According to the old man Hokage, it's the same way Jiraiya of the sanin got his. They're fine, no destructive tendencies beyond an occasional love of explosions or such like. They also help me deal with my ADHD somewhat, so be glad for that. The Hatake shuddered. Understood. Team 7 passed. Sorry, what? Asked another Jonin. You passed a team? They got me. Kakashi said, seeming unconcerned. This totally vindicates my testing method for the last 5 years. A team of 3 genin can take on a Jonin, and it's ludicrous to suggest otherwise. One of the Jonin in the room, a Hyuga, frowned, activated his bloodline and sniggered. This action from a Hyuga of all people caused almost as much shock as Kakashi's earlier announcement. How many traps did you get hit with? About 20 or so. That Uzumaki kid's horrible to deal with. Especially with that contract of his, he managed to give the Uchiha the assistance of a wind-focused summon, and somehow turn Haruno into a taijutsu talent. Now the Hokage blinked. He's that good at catalyzing other ninja? Well, it appears you have a set of students who will test you. Okay, here guys, I spent last night working them out. Sakura looked over the small scroll she had been handed. There was a set of complex seals, then an empty line, then a pair of paw prints in blood and the name Ni. Is this a summon contract? He grinned. Sorta, it's a branch contract I think is the name. It's like, you put your name down as a cadet summoner, and you can have some of the foxes signed to your name, and hence summon them. And vice versa, which is the real gold. Sasuke's mind began working fast. Vice versa? Does that mean what I think it means? Naruto's grin became broad enough to light up the clearing. It means that with these, all it takes is a couple minutes of planning, and you can be summoned wherever you want. Sakura looked suddenly upset. But I don't have the chakra to. Smart you doesn't yet, but strong you does. She thought for a moment, then smiled too. That means that if things go horribly wrong, we could just be summoned straight to the hospital. Or we could be summoned out of a trap, or as reinforcements against an enemy who doesn't expect us, or… Naruto held up a hand. I've got a warning though. The way I got my summon contract was by performing the summoning technique with a big splash of chakra and no contract myself. So I got sent to the realm of the most appropriate animal. If either of you want to try the same, it has to be before you sign this cadet contract. The old fox is fine with people holding a cadet fox contract as well as another, but he's only willing to extend that to a few people. You really impressed him with your potential, Sasuke considered. Right. I'll give it a go. Pass me the contract, and get Era to summon me back if I take too long. Naruto passed over the scroll, then snapped his fingers. If you do end up somewhere, try and find out where you are in the summon lands. The toads of Mount Maiboka have a long-distance travel well that leads here, so that's a good place to orient yourself on. The Uchiha, at Naruto's direction, took a soldier pill for a quick chakra boost in case he didn't have enough, went through the pattern of summoning, and dissolved in a puff of smoke. Naruto grinned. Well, that worked. At that moment Kakashi strolled in. Hi, sorry I'm late. I was doing my laundry and the machine clogged. Pain, perhaps, sensei? None of your lip, Naruto. Now, where's the other one? Sakura smiled. He's off getting a summon contract. Awesome, isn't he? Naruto sighed. Ah well, at least I get partial credit for showing him how to do that. Kakashi twitched. This genin team was starting to look like a potential 3 sanin all over again, which would mean more work. Well, that's nice. Our first mission is going to be a rescue mission. Wow, that's awesome. Naruto shouted. Yes, we need to rescue a family from boredom by babysitting. I withdraw my awesome comment. Mandia sat on his haunches in the forest claimed by the fox summons. He was perfectly centered. He was communing with nature on a fundamental level. He was surprised to notice a large bird flying towards him. Opening his eyes, he saw the hawk, clearly a large summon clan member, flying gently down towards him. After a few more seconds in which he got up and stretched, it alighted on a branch. Sage of the Foxes. I am Tadui, messenger of the Hawk tribe. A young human bearing a cadet contract of your clan has appeared in our midst, seeking our might to join his own. Do you have an explanation? I do. The boy is an ally of our newest summoner, and performed the summon with no contract at all to discover what he might be best suited for. He would be a good choice. His chakra is strong, and while it bears a tint of black, that tint is something he is aware of and will likely seek to overcome. He bears fire and lightning, and his eyes will be sharp when he can fully use them. Understood. We will not look on his petition with disfavor. You have no problem in his possessing a cadet contract of yours and a true contract of ours? I do not. Then we will have no problem with the situation either. Tadui spread his wings. Live long and well, Sage, Naruto sighed. D-ranks. I hate D-ranks. We know, Naruto. One of your clones mentions it every few minutes. He sighed, and picked out yet another weed from the ground. It wasn't bad as D-ranks went, but it was incredibly boring. He hadn't managed to make time to see about what Mendiaz called the emergency strength training plan, and his sudden lack of progress felt horrible. Oh, he was improving, just nowhere near as fast as he had on the glorious night he learned the shadow clone. And as per the rules of the foxes, he couldn't consider it mastered, couldn't move on to learning something else, unless he could do it, under stress, without more than at most one seal. Mendiaz had mentioned how, once the shadow clone was down, he could start learning several things at once using their memory return capacity. Sasuke had it slightly easier, his summons insisting instead that he make modifications to his techniques to improve their range and travel speed, even at the cost of power. Since that made it plausible he could rain down destruction from the heavens once he built his chakra enough to summon a hawk that could carry him, he wasn't arguing with him. Finally, his clones roared as the last dozen weeds were ripped out. With an effort of will, he dispersed them by groups and evaluated their memories. Wow, he would certainly be able to tell what a garden looked like if he ever needed to. He glanced between the grubby Sakura and the annoyed Sasuke. C rank? C rank. Well, I do have a mission to the Land of Wave. It's an escort mission, Naruto considered for a moment. This is just going to be an awful lot of walking, right? Sasuke snorted. We might have to fight, but more or less yeah. At least it's less boring. Kakashi raised an eyebrow. Boring, eh? Well, if boredom is your concern, then when we get back to D ranks I'll make them more interesting. You better keep to that. Okay, we'll take it. Tsunade walked in. Why, hick, are all ninjas so short? The third frowned. Short? Yeah. There's the three brats here, and then there's you, who's so old that the same thing applies. The only ninja I've seen are either really young or really old. That, Mr. Tsunade, is because the tall ones are too stealthy to see. Tsunade looked around. Who said that? Sakura bent over to the boys. How drunk is he? Naruto gave a sniff. I'd say 2.5 out of 3 sheets to the wind. Tsunade looked around at the half-dozen other images of him walking along the path. This feels creepy. Another Tsunade nodded, and a third added, that's just what I was going to say. Naruto spoke up. It's so nobody knows which one is the real you, he said, looking at yet another Tsunade clone. Another grumbled something about brats not paying attention to people when they talk. As the small group walked past a certain puddle, all but one of the Tsunades flickered slightly. When the demon brothers emerged from the puddle, they immediately charged for that one, wrapping up Kakashi and Naruto in their chains as they went. As soon as they reached the real Tsunade, he smirked and punched Meizu hard enough to knock him out. The images all vanished to show that the real Tsunade was in fact on the other side of the group inside a clone of himself, and that Sakura had been wearing a transformation illusion. Kakashi stepped out of the trees unscathed, and Naruto simply shape-shifted himself into a brick to drop out of the coils. Sasuke stood there impassively for a second, before a hawk dropped from the sky and raked across Goza's scalp. The Uchiha took advantage of the distraction caused by his summon to kick the remaining demon brother in the well. Let's just say he was in male pain. So, sensei, looks like they were after the bridge guy after all. Naruto muttered from the ground, as a brick. He shifted back a second or so later and grinned. Take that, heh? How the hell did you do that? A ninjutsu? Magic? Alchemy? At least one of the above? How the hell did those guys turn into water without a bloodline? Point. Naruto. How could you possibly hurt this little bunny? What were you thinking? Naruto considered. Well, at first I was thinking, suspicious noise. But after I saw it was a rabbit, my thoughts sort of changed to lunch. Lunch? That's cruel, Fox. Sasuke raised an eyebrow. You have a point. Where did you get it from? Naruto took his attention off the rabbit. What you say is pointless. Therefore, if you have a point, you took it from somewhere. Did you actually make a joke? Seriously, I can't tell. A harsh cry came from above. Sasuke sprang into action. Down, a huge sword went flying overhead, embedding itself into a tree. Leave me and go! Kakashi shouted desperately from inside the water prison. Get the client out of here! Naruto shook his head. No way I'm going to do that. There's not a thing that could make me abandon a teammate. Flibbertigibbet. I'm a clone. Zabuza's eyes widened. What? Snapping round to the seaward side of the battlefield, he saw someone, Naruto, standing on the water. He was bent down, sticking his bloody hand in the sea. And grinning. A tense second went by, and then something looped around Zabuza's ankles and dragged him down. He broke the grip, but lost the water prison as he half fell. On the shoreline, the same hawk from before disrupted the water clone Zabuza had left, and Sasuke smiled. They never think to look up. Kakashi steadied himself on the water, and spotted a slim, streamlined fox disappear from below the water in a cloud of bubbles. Naruto himself now ran in, creating a dozen clones on the move. One of them made a face at Zabuza, and another started copying his movements. Zabuza casually tossed a handful of kunai, performed a quick water technique that shielded him from the onrushing clones, and began working up a much more impressive attack on Kakashi. Sadly for him, Kakashi had developed his 4 non-affinity elements to the point they could nearly match his lightning, otherwise what was the point copying so many techniques? And hence knew where he was going with the water dragon already, so outran him on it. Zabuza had just enough time to be monumentally ticked off before he was blasted back by a massive, majestic water dragon. Okay, it's a fancy-shaped hose blast. But it's a nice-looking fancy-shaped hose blast. Hey sensei, that was pretty neat. Is there one of those for other elements? Predictably, Naruto loved it. Yes, there is. But I haven't seen the wind dragon used before, and the water version's actually fairly poor as they go. Far too many hand seals. Naruto shrugged. I have hordes of shadow clones, I could set 50 performing it at once and get at least a few of them off. And it's just cool. Sakura marched over to the concussed Zabuza. Right, now who are you working for? A pair of needles hit Zabuza on the neck, and he stopped moving completely. A masked ninja dropped from the trees, and explained how he was a hunter ninja, and so it was perfectly reasonable for him to be using his amazing talents in hunting down a missing nin, but for him to have got his first break in positively years due to a team of genin. Naruto raised his hand from where he sat on the shore. Mr. Hunter Nin, if that's true, then why isn't he dead? The Hunter Nin looked down at Zabuza. He looks dead to me. Yeah, but his chakra's still here and stuff. Why did you use those little needles if they might not work properly? Haku bent down next to Zabuza. Okay, there's a very good explanation for that. With a flicker of speed, Both swordsman and hunter vanished. Naruto stayed staring at where they'd vanished from as Kakashi started banging his head into a tree. Stupid. Sasuke noticed he hadn't moved for almost a minute. Naruto? SSSH, I might miss the explanation. Why bother fighting Gato? You'll lose. No one can beat Gato. Naruto pondered for a moment. Sensei? Do you have a bingo book with you? Anyone in there who fits the description of this Gato? Kakashi flipped through. Nobody by that name, but there are a few it might be so. This Gato, a tall woman in her mid-20s with long blonde hair? Inari blinked. No, he's a short man with sunglasses. What's his signature ninjutsu? Does he use genjutsu? Is he a taijutsu master? He's got lots of men working for him. Naruto frowned. Now see, I don't see how that really works as a credible threat. I mean, Sasuke can make massive blasts of fire, Sakura can practically level trees with a punch, and I can make an army with a single hand seal. And I don't know what Sensei can do when he's concentrating, but that's because he's never really had to. It doesn't matter, there's no such thing as heroes. Kakashi quirked an eyebrow. Over half the people I know count as heroes in some way or other. You'll just die, there's no point. Sasuke had had enough. Look, kid, you have a parent left. That makes you better off than 3/4 of our team. Stop being so depressed. But Sakura turned to Tsunade, having had an idea. Mr. Tsunade, how old are you? I'm about 56. Why? Did your parents ever tell you about the Great Plains of Fire Country? Come to think of it, yeah, though I don't know what they meant. It's always been forest there. Kakashi joined the conversation again. The forest's barely a year or two older than you. Hiroshima Senju made it himself, in one gargantuan technique. Then, to show off, he converted some of it into low-cost, high-quality housing for an entire village. The wave citizens could only gape. The Hokage you saw in Konoha was trained by Hiroshima Senju himself. We're in a time of legend still, kid, Naruto grinned. And we're going to join them. Sasuke blinked, his eyes shone red. Well, it worked. And now he had a whole other set of disturbing memories to work with, but time had dulled the ache. He could analyze those moments, burned into his memory with the Sharingan, and see things that were off. Wrong. Itachi had been upset, hiding it behind feigned madness for some reason. Some of the dead had been killed by Itachi's sword, but others, all the young, some of the old, and a few of the mature clan members, were dead by a different weapon. In fact, it looked like Akama had done it, as the cuts were wider and shallower. And finally, he was still alive. By any measure, a Sharingan activating at 8 was impressive, and more of a test of capacity than some 3-year-old child. But he had been left alive and had his memory of his Sharingan blocked. Why? If he was to be a greater challenge later, then why block the Sharingan? None of it made sense. Nii flicked her tail. That did it then? The memory block is down. Sasuke nodded. Right. If you have any further problems with it, get Naruto or Sakura to summon me. The fox vanished in a puff of smoke. Ah, good. Kakashi said. Now, time for intensive training in how to use a Sharingan. Naruto, Sakura, keep up the intensive training in whatever you're doing. 10 hours a day minimum. Naruto, that's per clone. Sakura moaned, and began the chakra capacity building exercise again. Remember when he was lazy? Naruto nodded, and summoned Mandias. Hey, old guy, I think we need to go for that red power source you mentioned. You sure? Isolated islands, 100 or more miles from any hidden village, total experienced ninja in the vicinity single digits. Hey, it might even scare them off. Fair enough. Send a clone to warn your sensei though. Sakura carefully balanced on the side of the tree. She was having to balance a leaf at the same time, Kakashi's idea being that if she exerted her chakra in her finesse state for long enough to exhaust it, then switch to the other and back, she could manage constant chakra training. Control in strength, and capacity in the other aspect. Then a volcano of power blew her off the tree entirely. Good, now this is as much as your aura can extend to without energy bleed. Mandias shouted into the gale of power. If you need to use more power, it needs to be compressed down so that it becomes an extension of your body. Slowly, the aura of red yukai surrounding Naruto darkened and shrank, forming a layer an inch deep over his skin. Mandias watched it with a weather eye. Any moment now, with a ripple, the chakra shroud developed features. Ears, claws, and a single lashing red tail. Naruto gradually stabilized the cloak, then stood back up again, face scrunched with the effort of will in sustaining it. Very good, Naruto. Keep that up for as long as you can. From now on, the power call doesn't actually change the difficulty nearly as fast. As you draw more of Millie's chakra, it becomes self-stabilizing. Form follows form. This tail feels really freaky. I mean, it's almost controllable, but not quite, Mandias considered. Training. 255 shadow clones, one tail from each of them. That ought to be almost all of Millie's power at once, spread over 256 different clones. Then get them sparring. Sakura stomped over to the area Naruto was training in. Okay, Naruto. You better have a really good explanation for? She saw a good few hundred clones, each cloaked in what felt to her bookworm side like pure chakra. With a tail? Sparring and demolishing trees. It didn't escape her attention that they were sustaining hits without dispelling. Master Zabuza, what should we do? Zabuza shivered. That was the unmistakable feeling of Yukai on the edge of perception. We are leaving, as soon as possible. Abruptly the feeling got about 200 times stronger. In fact, sooner. I need you to carry me to somewhere outside the country. Leave a note for Gato, 3 explosive tags. Kakashi winced. Well, so much for stealth. Though there was something to be said for sheer brute force, especially in a remote location like this. Now, Naruto, I told you that careful fine manipulation is the best way to gain dexterity. Somehow, using enough power to level a small country on building a bridge seems just wrong though, old guy. A joist wobbled and almost fell, but the tail Naruto was using adjusted itself and stabilized the long beam of wood. The rest of the bridge workers tried to ignore the strangeness of their crane. Control is fundamental, and it's no good to you if you damage your allies as much as your enemies. Kiba, it might be a bad idea for you to, With a twang, a rope wrapped around Kiba's leg and sent him soaring into the air. Kurenai sighed. Was that a trap? And Hinata, you really should have warned poor Kiba sooner. I didn't want to impose, sensei. Shino dissolved into a cloud of bugs, revealing that him to be a clone, as a spray of fluorescent pink paint jetted from what had seemed an innocuous bush. Kurenai pursed her lips. More than one, it seemed the area was risky. Hinata. Where are the closest traps? Byakugan. Maybe we should stop moving now, sensei. That many? Okay, point out the safest path. Hinata concentrated then frowned. I can't see one. At all. Not even a way back. Kurenai spun in place. Does that even make sense? Shino shook his head. I do not understand it either. It seems Training Ground 7 has recently been used for something impressive. What do we do now? After a pause, Shino raised a hand. Call for help? A scream dopplered out of the sky, and Kiba landed with a splash in the nearby lake. Well, that was anticlimactic. Speak for yourself, sensei. Sasuke regained his Sharingan. Sakura's easily doubled her chakra reserves and got her aspect switching down to an art, and I stabilized the two-tail form of my chakra cloak. Yes, I was meaning to ask about that. Why were you, well, not berserk? Naruto tapped his palm, and took 3 pamphlets that could have passed him. Here. Sakura, Sasuke, you may as well find out too. Kakashi took one and opened it. The Kyuubi was under a Sharingan Genjutsu? Part of the Fox contract? Female? Uchiha Madara is still alive? What the hell, Uchiha Madara? Sasuke asked, suddenly intense. Kakashi formed a simple illusion in the air, an image of one of the 2 founders of Konoha when he had his last portrait done, complete with traditional Uchiha battle armor and weapons. Sasuke's hands clenched so hard they destroyed the pamphlet he held. That man was holding a Kama. That man had faked his death decades ago. That man had attacked the village on multiple occasions. That man was far more likely to have destroyed his own clan, murdered children in their beds, old men and women, civilians than his pacifist older brother. That man would pay. Oh, and apparently Naruto held the Kyuubi. Whatever, apparently she wasn't evil anymore, and if Madara was behind any of this at all then he could hardly talk. Sakura nodded to herself. Yep, that made sense. But if he was a container, then was he the only one there'd been or not? No, it couldn't be. All the other bijou were mentioned as being sealed in someone or other repeatedly, and come to think of it, the battle at the Valley of the End had ended with something vague being done to the Kyuubi by the first's wife, Mito Senju. Sakura's endless knowledge of random trivia threw up a correspondence. Mito Senju, ne Uzumaki. Okay, that was interesting. Hadn't Mandias said Naruto had a small amount of non-human chakra? Something to research. The demon is escaping. Run for your lives. Kakashi looked up from his book. Actually, it looks rather more like the Jinchuriki is using a slightly ludicrous amount of power to plow your field. The farmer stopped his headlong panic, and turned, trembling. Naruto waved back cheerily, the 2 tails he was sustaining continuing to carve long furrows in the ground. I wish to enter my team into the exams. Iruka blinked. Are you sure they're ready? Kakashi shook his head. They're actually, if anything, too late. Sakura's resolved that split personality of hers into a combat boost, giving her Chunin level taijutsu and probably pretty good illusion abilities as well if her clones are anything to go by. Sasuke's got his Sharingan, and a small repertoire of very basic techniques from all 5 elements, camping stuff, basically, as well as pretty good elemental techniques in fire. As for Naruto, well, did you know that shadow clones of a Jinchuriki can form and stabilize a chakra cloak? The other Jonin carefully noted to tell their students to stay away from Team 7. Morning, Sand Ninja. Sakura commented, as she walked past. Tell me, were you planning on holding the grandson of the head of your allied village hostage, or did it just happen? Kankuro, Temari. Stop making a scene, Gaara said from his perch. As Kankuro gasped and flinched away from his brother, Naruto ambled over. You seem somehow similar to me. You have a summon contract? Gaara blinked. I do not. Oh, they're really cool. You do this string of hand seals, channel a good amount of chakra, bite your thumb, and slap it on the ground, Naruto demonstrated, and with a poof of smoke Aya appeared. Morning. Ooh, he looks fun. Are we going to fight him? Or not? Not today, Aya. I was just demonstrating. Gaara silently worked the hand seals, bit his thumb, getting a good deal of sand as well, but some blood, and slapped down his hand, and vanished. Temari gaped. Did you just make Gaara self-destruct? Naruto grinned. Nope. And he should be back in a few seconds. With a bamf, Gaara reappeared. He seemed exactly the same as he had before, except for a small tanuki on his shoulder. He was stroking it. The sand doesn't kill it. His voice was wondering. Not like the puppy or the fish or the cat or Temari's boyfriend. He turned his eyes to her. Sorry about that, by the way. He seemed to slap you on the shoulder, and I just saw yellow. Then red. Lots of red. Then I left the room, because there really was rather a lot of blood on the walls. As sure. Temari stuttered. We are going back to our hotel room to wait for the exams to start. And I am going to see what other raccoons and raccoon dogs I can summon. Thank you, Naruto grinned. Uzumaki Naruto, future Hokage. First test is if you can answer those questions, is it? Right. Kuda, Naruto subvocalized, can you manage to copy Hinata's paper from my neck? I can read it from there. I'll let you know what she writes. Neat, okay. Kane, Nii, Aya, head on to the center of the forest. When I summon Kane, you two summon us there. Kane nodded for all of them. Understood. The larger fox loped off into the forest, followed by Nii and Aya. Oh, okay. So you're an infiltration specialist. Well, take this. Summoning, speedster, Orochimaru puffed into reality. Morning. Ooh, a fight. Buto, the rain genin flinched as a nip drew blood from his lower arm. He hadn't even seen the silvery fox move. I'm bored. Buto regen. Ga. Get it off me. Get it off me. Sakura and Sasuke watched as one of the fox summons savaged their enemy at several hundred strikes a second, apparently having time between the attacks to lean back and relax if the flickering, hazy image they were getting was any indication. Eventually the rain genin managed to run out of the range of Buto regen entirely, and Orochimaru dispersed. Naruto sent Kori after him to keep an eye out, and returned to concentrating on moving through the forest. Naruto grinned in satisfaction as the giant snake rained down around him. Nothing like 2 tails of chakra cloak to give anything a severe case of indigestion. Right, report time. Kori, he asked, summoning the fox, did you get anything from the rain team? Yes. The illusion master flicked his tail tip, and the cloaking illusions on 2 scrolls dropped. One scroll that seems to be the opposite of the one you had, Earth to Heaven, and another one I can't open. Good. Naruto took the scrolls from his summon. Right, time to cheat. Kane, the fire fox appeared in a puff of smoke, and then all 3 in the clearing vanished. See here, the prey gives the predator something to. Sakura and Sasuke disappeared in clouds of smoke. The sanin frowned. Damn, okay, Naruto, how the hell did you manage to complete the Forest of Death in an hour and a half? Reverse summoning. Now Sakura, any idea what this is? Sakura switched aspects to her knowledge side, and took a look. It reminds me of those summon contracts you gave us, actually, but it's a lot bigger. Hang on a sec. Naruto, mind letting me see the main fox contract? A quick summon later, and Sakura and Lani were comparing the 2 huge scrolls. Yes, I see what you mean. This is similar to our own core summon contract, but it's aligned differently. Kori, where was this? In a pack. I think it might actually have been forgotten in there. Well, if we want to find out what it is, Sakura, you're the only one without a master contract. Want to give it a go? Sakura blinked, and clenched her fists. Yeah, she slashed her blood across the prepared channel at the base of the scroll, and a sleek otter appeared in the room. Woo, that's a rush. Oh, hello? I see someone finally bothered to try our contract again. Sasuke nodded to himself. Creatures of 2 worlds, land and water appropriate. Naruto looked around. Several teams had made it through. 1 sand team, including the new raccoon summoner, and 1 sound team. The other 5 teams were all Konoha. That was neat. Clearly the home team advantage was strong. Either that or Konoha's genin were freaky strong. Most of the ninja in the forest were equipped with fairly standard attacks, whereas every Konoha nin had something clan-based or personal that was hard to beat, except for that Kabuto guy who just gave up. Again. Man, he sucked. Naruto versus Yoroi Akato. So how much chakra can you drain? At least as much as a strong jonin. Yoroi boasted, holding Naruto's arm. Right. Naruto snickered. And the more chakra the target's using, the faster it drains? Yes. I can shut down any technique you try to pull. Actually, I'm surprised you've not run out of chakra already. Naruto pulled on his initial Jinchuriki state, and Yoroi promptly collapsed to the floor twitching. Okay, that was just sad. Ino versus Kankuro. Ino threw the special hand seal for Yamanaka techniques, and sent a possession attack at her opponent. As soon as it hit, the bundle of bandages burst open, and Kankuro rolled out. Ha! You only possessed my puppet! My combat puppet with all my weapons or help? Temari glanced at the slumped body of Ino. Can you even possess a puppet? Apparently. Gaara muttered. Sasuke versus Shikamaru. Sasuke blinked to rest his watering eyes. Shikamaru was just annoying. He barely moved, yet the Uchiha was being strained keeping track of the shadow possession that was flicking all over the place. Then he had an idea, and began working on one of his new camping techniques. Among the most minor of jutsu, this was a simple lightning technique that allowed you to read at night. But Sasuke decided to take a leaf out of Naruto's book, and overloaded it 30 or so times. The resultant flare of light was bright enough to banish most of the shadows in the arena, and weaken the Nara's own mutable shadow, so Sasuke began to push the advantage thus granted. The end came quickly. By summoning a pair of wind-aligned hawks, drawing the eye of everyone in the room, and using their powerful wings to augment his phoenix flower, Sasuke managed to catch Shikamaru in a ring of fire. Since his shadow couldn't cross the flames themselves, Shikamaru found himself checkmated, and gave up gracefully. Gaara versus Shino. The two stared at one another. Gaara spoke first, after a good few minutes of silence. I use sand. It acts as an ultimate defense, and has essentially never been breached. Shino considered. I use insects. They allow me to use clones extremely hard to distinguish from the normal me, and let me drain chakra at range. Gaara nodded. I have more chakra than most ninja below Kage, so draining me would be an exercise in futility. In addition, were I to catch a clone in my sand, I could crush it and destroy the insects. Eventually you would run out of them, leaving you vulnerable. Shino took a windmill shuriken from a coat pocket, and threw it with a flourish. It hit the sand defense and bounced away. Shino nodded to himself. Then this will be a battle of wills. The two continued staring. 15 minutes after their match started, Shino turned away. I concede. Misumi versus Hinata. The older Konohanin pounced as soon as the battle began, wrapping himself around Hinata. Got you now! Give up, or he trailed off. Hinata's eyes flashed into the Byakugan. You are completely within the range of my divination. Hinata performed the only stage of the cadence she had learned thus far, blasting Misumi with chakra from every part of her body at once, and locking him up completely. She pulled at her bonds for a moment. Proctor, does this mean I win? He's sort of unconscious. Yeah, we'll go with that. Hinata wins. Hey guy. Can you come down and pry this genin off her? Yash. Niji versus Kin. Hinata glanced between the two ninja. Sensei, is it me, or do those two look really alike? Kurenai blinked, and paid closer attention. They really do. Then she winced. Ouch. Not much point being an illusionist against a Hyuga. Niji wins. Lee versus Kiba. Gutsuga argh. Slam. Thud. Kurenai winced again. That boy, he's strong, fast and skilled, as well as actually nice, but he needs to learn restraint. Yash. Lee. You have defeated another taijutsu-focused opponent. Guy-sensei. Everyone in the Konoha contingent looked away. Temari glanced around her at the flinching ninja. What's the problem, GH? Gaara's sand formed a shield to protect him from the sunset of youth. Dosa versus Temari. Temari quirked an eyebrow. Sound nin? Right, goodbye. Breakthrough. Dosa's ability required getting close to his opponent, and it wasn't much of a prospect against the Suna Wind Mistress. He, like Kiba, was quickly introduced to the wall. Zaka versus Tenten. Tenten slammed back into the wall from one of Zaka's attacks, and winced. The sound genin crowed. No ranged attack works on me. I can blow away all your attacks. He gestured to the sea of weapons all across the floor. The Konoha genin smiled grimly. So, tell me. Zaku, do you have enough arms? She waved her fingers, shaking out the wires attached to them, and yanked. Zaku noticed that all her weapons were now flying at him, from every direction. Well, fu, crash, winner, Tenten. And someone get a medic. Sakura versus Choji. Sakura jumped lightly onto the floor, and switched to her bookish aspect. A few clones to allow her to get close, then switch when she was in range and land a hit. Should work. And if it didn't, well, she had Tag and the other otters she'd managed to summon. Choji turned to Asuma. She looks scary now, can I just not fight? Asuma sighed. Okay, fine, go ahead. At least Ino made it to the finals. Kakashi blinked. That was anticlimactic. Wait, hang on, he looked at the genin who would be in the Chunin exams. Naruto, Sakura, Sasuke, Temari, Gaara, Niji, Lee, Tenten, Ino, Hinata. Guy had noticed it too. My eternal rival. Shall we make it a challenge to see which of our youthful genin get promoted? If one of us manages a clean sweep, then we will have trained a team similar to the three sanin. The proctor held up a board with the matches for the next month. Naruto versus Niji, Tenten v Temari, Sakura v Ino, Lee v Hinata, Sasuke v Gaara. Then the winners of the first two matches would fight, as would the winners of the last two, then the winner of the first block and of the third first-round match, then the final. Sasuke, I'll train you. Sakura, it might be better if you worked with Ebisu here to refine your low and mid-level techniques, to better use your great control. Naruto, sorry, but everyone I could find is occupied except Kurenai, and I don't think you're cut out to be an illusionist. Nah, that's fine, I'll just ask Mandias if I can't find anyone else. So you're the QB container, huh? How about I teach you something really impressive? Naruto looked at the old Toad Summoner, remembering that day last year when he'd first seen the man. Sure, go ahead. Now watch this. Summoning. A toad appeared in a cloud of smoke. Naruto waited. That's it. Didn't you ask the old man about me? What do you mean? The boy rolled his eyes and sat down. Jiraiya gasped in shock as he felt the familiar feel of sage chakra. Wait. What are summoning? Beat this. Mandiaz stretched as the smoke cleared. Oh, hello again, Naruto. And who's this? Jiraiya was frozen, his face twitching as his mind rebooted. The kid just used Sage Chakra? Perfectly? And he already has a summon contract. Just brilliant. Okay, how the hell can you mold nature energy that well? Naruto frowned. It's not perfect, I can't keep it when I move, you know. Mandiaz slipped his tail into Naruto's pocket and pulled out one of the pamphlets. Here, this might help. Jiraiya took it. Impressive, but can you access the Kyuubi's chakra yet? Naruto raised an eyebrow and entered one-tailed chakra cloak. Oh. Ever heard of the Rasengan? Oh wow, something actually new. Teach me. Morning, Hinata. Ready to head over to the stadium? Hinata nodded, not trusting her voice. Okay. Well, I may as well offer you a lift. But to pay me back, you better do well, you hear? Naruto summoned Kane and clambered onto his back. Come on, he's really fast. Neji spun into the Hyuga Ultimate Defense, the Kaiten, shedding the incoming attack and popping the clones. Naruto bit his thumb and slapped it on the ground. Summoning death from below. With a grinding roar, an enormous pair of jaws burst from the ground around his opponent and closed around Neji in his entirety, before disappearing back into the ground. The proctor blinked. Is he dead? Naruto shook his head. Give it a minute. The great red maw burst from the ground again, and its eyes crossed. With a tui sound, Neji was spat out of the fox's mouth before it dispersed, and began shivering in place. Genma walked over to the branch Hyuga. Are you okay? Hey. Temari hid behind a tree. This seemed so wrong somehow. On the other side, Tenten fired out half a dozen explosive-tagged kunai from her crater, gradually digging a trench towards the Suna Wind Mistress. Temari had found out early on that her wind couldn't actually reach the inside of the craters, and Tenten was using them ruthlessly to close in. Raising twin dragons, Temari lunged out from behind the tree. At last the other kunoichi had made a mistake. That move's long setup time would let her. Just kidding. Temari met a shower of kunai coming the other way, one of which exploded close enough to her fan to damage the paper. Temari rolled out of the way of a follow-up salvo of 3 kunai, 12 shuriken and a scythe. Tenten winced on seeing it. She thought that was one of the small weapon scrolls, and hurriedly conceded. Ino ran for her life. Sakura's otter summon, Tag, was sending a javelin her way every time she tried to take a stance facing Sakura for hand seals, and with the occasional kunai being sent her way by Sakura herself, it was getting tiring. Wait! She could possess the summon. Sakura watched as Tag ran straight into the mental attack, then lazily dismissed the summoning technique. Ino's body slowly collapsed. There was a pause. Sakura shouted up into the stands. Excuse me, Mr. Yamanaka? I have a few questions about your family techniques. So her mind returns to her body at walking pace with the basic move. Brilliant. I think summons might actually be in another dimension or something. Hang on a sec. Sakura threw the summon hand seals again. Lutra, take this girl's body back when I dismiss you. That ought to let her get back fine. Explain things to her if she's still possessing Tag. Keep a hold of her until I summon you again. As you say, Sakura. The otter bowed and ran off. Lutra vanished, taking Ino's body with her. The proctor looked around for a moment. Air winner, Sakura? Sakura nodded absently, explaining her plan to Inoichi. I'll summon Lutra back with her in 10 minutes or so. Hinata stared at Lee. She could do this. She had to, but if this boy was her cousin's rival, then could she possibly beat him? Naruto's voice came from the crowd. Hey, Hinata! You better do something awesome, remember, awesome? Okay, she could handle that. Especially if it was Naruto asking. Right, this guy was much stronger than her, so she needed to come up with a way to match that. The normal way the gentle fist worked was very wasteful of chakra, as each blast fired was lost whether it hit or not. Perhaps she could make some kind of chakra skin over her hands that only fired chakra when it hit the enemy? Then she could use more chakra on making herself faster. So what to call it? Gentle step, twin lion fists. Hayashi dropped his milkshake. Lee blinked. Hinata gave her new technique a careful look over, then smiled. I think I like this. Shall we? Lee nodded and charged. Hinata eventually lost the fight, but it took Lee using the second gate to give him the speed to bypass her swinging fists. Hayashi quirked an eyebrow, having had time to recover his composure. That had been strange. Sasuke Uchiha, please report to the stadium. Seriously, this is getting silly. Naruto's patience ran out. Aya. Summon Sasuke for me, will you? Right, oh he. Kakashi reiterated his warning about the Chidori. Now you haven't got enough chakra to use it more than a few times a day. Since you mentioned your summons and a love of long-range attacks, you might want to modify it as much as you can. I'll work with you on shape transformation, but for now, use it as a last resort as it uses far too much chakra. Stick to the lesser lightning and fire attacks. A good combo to use is. Sasuke vanished in a puff of smoke. Kakashi's eye widened. Damn, Sasuke materialized on the balcony. What is it? Naruto pointed. You're 5 minutes late to your match. Sakura, Lee, Tenten and I won, by the way. Sasuke dove into the arena. Lightning lance. Sasuke's electric attack punched through Gaara's sand, but dissipated as it did so. Gaara replied with a hail of sand shuriken and pellets. Electric aura armor. The thin curtain of electricity didn't protect against the impacts from the sand, but it did overwhelm what of Gaara's chakra was in the tiny sand pellets, and stop them from staying animate. The crowd oohed and ahed as the lightning attacks speared across the stadium. Naruto grinned, watching as Sasuke fired out a grand fireball and had Aya enhance it, fusing some of the sand into glass, before following up with a volley of lightning lances that weren't diffused by the glass as they were the sand. One of them made it through and nicked Gaara's skin. My blood? Gaara sounded confused. Then flipped a few hand seals and slapped his hands on the floor. Choji stared. Did he just summon Totoro? The large tanuki fired out a water attack at Sasuke, intercepting his follow-up fireball volley. Aya blocked the water bullet before it hit Sasuke, and the Uchiha dropped a lightning lance into the thin misting of water which boosted it in the same way wind boosts fire. Totoro was violently dispersed by the enhanced electric attack, and Sasuke swallowed a soldier pill, before pushing a big chunk of his chakra into a large summoning. Kakashi flickered into the stadium to catch sight of his student finally summoning a hawk large enough to fly on. Though there was something about it. Ooh, neat. Lutra commented from the balcony, having asked to stay to watch the rest of the finals. That's a thunderbird. Does that mean what I think it means? Sasuke summoned spat a lightning bolt at Gaara. Then, as Gaara began to pull a lot of his own chakra for a bigger summon, a wide area sleep illusion pulsed out across the crowd. Sakura rushed over to Naruto, checking he was still awake, and glanced around for trouble. I think we're being invaded. They're using the exam as a cover. Naruto nodded. Makes sense. Hey Sasuke. Head over somewhere safe and draw Gaara off, then get a good look for me, and I'll see what I can do. Sasuke banked overhead on his thunderbird, and headed off to the side of the arena furthest from the center of Konoha. Pausing to send a pair of lightning lances at the Tsunade Jinchuriki, he flew further off as a sand protrusion approached. Gaara demolished part of the stadium wall and followed, clearly intent only on continuing their fight. Naruto extended his senses, and drank deep of the natural energy of Konoha. Performing the now-practiced merger into the three-phase chakra of Sage Mode, he bit his thumb and worked a longer than usual string of hand seals. Summoning, Army of Foxes, Naruto was one of the first summoners in history to have sufficient chakra for this. He summoned every single fox on his contract, from the largest, 3 the size of large buildings, to the smallest, a tiny fox, called Mo, that was too small to actually fight and mainly used because of weapons grade cute. That latter fox was sent after Temari, managing to completely immobilize her in about a quarter of a second. Naruto panted for a second. Hey Sasuke. What are the main problem areas? Sasuke's voice called from above. Gaara's going bonkers off in the forest below me. There's a giant snake headed for the south wall, and the Kazekage has turned into some kind of snake demon trying to kill the Hokage. Every Sannin on the battlefield snapped their heads round to stare at the Kage box. Naruto nodded. Right, let's see shadow clones. Over 100 Naruto clones appeared next to him. You know the drill, everyone. 2 tails. A wave of Yukai bleed off lashed the forest, and the small horde of clones shot off to their assigned areas. Baki quietly stabbed the sound Nin next to him in the jugular. All sand ninja. Change of plan, kill the sound shinobi. Gaara, by now starting to descend into the sand cloak, began forcing out his raccoon summons in the hope one of them would let him continue his fight with Sasuke. One of the attempts he made, his chakra flared, and he promptly summoned the boss of his contract, Shukaku. Gaara blinked. No more voice whispering in his head. The thing in front of him that sounded like his mother was clearly an enormous sand tanuki, and hence it was unlikely to be his mother in truth. Oh, and he was still surrounded in sand, but it wasn't being demonic. Then the Shukaku tried to crush him. A lightning bolt hit the limb of sand stretching out towards him and cut it off, buying him time to scramble out of the way, and half a dozen copies of Naruto wrapped in red-orange chakra began trying to contain the one-tails. An Arctic fox skidded to a halt next to him. You're the container, right? Tell me, is your bijou completely insane? Gaara nodded. Yes. It tried to make me into a mass-murdering psychopath. I think it more or less succeeded. Right, Mandias lunged forward and snapped up some of the sand raining off the tanuki, tasting it before spitting it out. Bleh. Yep, that's Sharingan work alright. I think Madara got to all the bijou if this is any indication. Naruto. One of you over here, please. Nii, you too. The Shukaku roared as 10 tails of waving red chakra pinned it down, and Sasuke blasted any part of it that began to extend past the cage. Sakura swapped to her warrior aspect, summoned the biggest otter she could, and had him begin hosing down the sand demon with water to slow it. Mandias, Nii and the clone of Naruto landed lightly on hard, cracked mud. Mandias looked around. There's desert all around us, so what's this? Some kind of dried-up oasis? Hey, where's the bijou? Naruto asked. Shouldn't it be here? Perhaps. But we're inside the mind of the beast, not the container. So it might not be expected to have a form. Sakura's a special case. Most people's minds don't normally have such real personifications of themselves. Nii lectured. She glanced around. Though I have to admit, this is quite appropriate. A gentle breeze blew across the area, then strengthened abruptly into a gale as a sandstorm appeared on the horizon. The two foxes covered their muzzles with their tails, and Naruto dropped back into his chakra cloak to protect him from the flying sand. Is it me, or has the sun got a lot stronger? Mandiaz squinted up. The sun, though high in the sky, was red. And there were 3 Tomo-o, that can't be good. It's the core of the genjutsu. Right, Naruto, listen carefully. I need you to draw on your complete allocation of Milli's chakra and spread your aura as far as you can go. Naruto complied, his blue-streaked red aura of power expanding to form a tenuous globe several feet across. The 2-tail cloak he had up dropped to a single tail, and began to waver. I can't push it any further out, or I lose the solidity of the cloak and dispel in the sandstorm. That'll be enough. Now force your chakra into a random pattern. Think, say, swirls or something. On it. Naruto applied his first stage Rasengan principle to his entire extended aura of power, and a full tail of chakra in a scramble pattern broke the illusion on the Shukaku like it was sugar glass. Jiraiya watched as about 60 two-tail Naruto clones rampaged through the battle lines, 3 of them tearing a giant snake apart before it hit the wall, and the rest seeking out and capturing Sound Ninja as well as those Sand Ninja who hadn't heard Baki's order. The Sanin shook his head ruefully. I sort of feel redundant. Naruto and 5 clones leapt onto the roof of the stadium, where the Hokage was fighting Orochimaru. 3 of the clones leapt for the barrier and were violently torn to shreds, the barrier barely managing to break through even the 2-tail aura of chakra. One of the remaining clones tried to pull more than 2 tails of chakra, now some was free, but ended up dispersing as the unstable cloak forced a destructive transformation on him. A nearby Anbu looked over at him. Uzumaki. Please, you can't help here. Go and lend your weight to the other battles in the village. Oh, I'm there as well. In fact, I think one of my clones just made the Shukaku sane again, and when the clone dispersed, it was apologizing constantly. Yeah, seems to have worked. But do you have any idea how strong this barrier is? Yamato gave the barrier a careful look. It's being fueled by 4 ninja, so it can't be too powerful. Your clones nearly made it. Right. Naruto forcibly yanked out a 3rd tail of chakra, then grimaced as his skin started to tear and lunged for the barrier. With an explosion of clashing chakra, he passed through and out into the space Orochimaru had made to fight his teacher. The 3rd reacted in shock, and the snake Sanin took the opportunity to use his impure world resurrection without being interrupted. 3 coffins rose from the ground, and opened to reveal all the former Hokages of Konoha. Orochimaru wasted no time in sinking their control seals, a slightly different form than the one he'd originally planned on. Allowing the spirits of his teachers to talk normally would help to demoralize the 3rd, and after all that was the whole point of using them. The 4th, on the other hand, well, taunting him would be fun. Minato blinked. I'm not quite alive. I see. Then he spotted the boy staring at him, ignoring the 1st and 2nd talking to the 3rd. Can it be Naruto? The boy blinked. How do you know my name? Wasn't I just some random kid you sealed Millie into? No, I knew exactly who you were. I chose your name. Then the 4th's train of thought fell off a cliff. Millie? Naruto absently passed over a pamphlet. The foxes say thanks for breaking Madara's contract with them, by the way. And how did you get involved with choosing my name? Minato flipped through the pamphlet. I'm your father, don't you know that yet? Saru, what the hell? The 3rd looked uncomfortable. I thought it was for the best. I mean, it was supposed to be a secret that he held the Kyuubi as well, but clearly that's fallen apart. Orochimaru chuckled darkly. Oh, this is delicious. Yandiame. Kill your son. Shodiame, Nidiame, help me kill the Sandiame. Minato threw a series of hand seals, and the area they were in was cordoned off from the rest of the battle by a smaller barrier. The former Hokage then sat down, ere Naruto ventured. Shouldn't you be trying to kill me? I am. By my estimate, I have as much chance of killing you sitting here waiting for you to die of old age as I do going all out against you. If he'd said to try, then I'd have to make an effort. But keep up that chakra cloak, will you? It's what's giving me the loophole. Minato smiled. So, tell me, how's your life been so far? I'll tell you the story of my own life while we're at it. Do these people not understand the concept of gratitude? The Namikaze raged. I mean, come on. Last wish of a dying hero, and I didn't see them being like this to Mito Uzumaki, or for that matter your mother. The 4th calmed slightly. Okay, I don't think we have much longer, so I'll say this. There's a soul fragment of me as a fail-safe in the seal for if it collapses completely, and then if you break it completely a 2nd time your mother's there to help. Not that it'll be needed, of course, and since she can look out, she knows exactly how you're doing. I'll just say this. I'm certain she's as proud of you as I am. I could not ask for a better son. Live long. Live well, and get Jiraiya and Tsunade to help you on your dream. They're your godparents, not that I imagine they've told you that. And finally, never give up. Naruto's eyes shone. I won't let you down, Dad. Good. Now, the best way to dispel this animation technique is probably going to be blowing my head off. I know it can't be a nice thing to do, but it has to be done. Bye, Dad. Naruto's chakra tails lashed out, and he turned away sobbing as he destroyed the facsimile of his hero of his father. Then he charged Orochimaru, who was so surprised that the demon had beaten the 4th that he barely dodged the trio of lunging tails. The third seized the moment, and used Enma to knock the Kusanagi into the ceiling barrier and render it unreachable. Then Naruto smashed the first two Hokages and Orochimaru dropped the barrier to run. Sarutobi looked over the half-demolished landscape of Konoha, and at the 30 or 40 Naruto clones running around it in two-tailed form still keeping an eye on things. Sighing, he turned to the original, sat on the roof next to him. I'm truly sorry, Naruto. I planned on telling you when you reached Jonin, but I was wrong to think like that. If there's one thing the invasion really brought home to me, it's that I am in no way immortal. I plan on releasing what there was your parents left to you tomorrow, and I'm almost certain you'll get promoted. Don't forget Sakura and Sasuke, old man. They were a great help against the Shukaku. Indeed. How is young Gaara anyway? He's, well, calm I suppose? He's kind of coming to terms with the idea that the Bijou was both not his mother and insane, and with the loss of his father. Apparently the sand's now a permanent part of his system. It actually defended him against the Tanuki before I restrained it, and he says he'll consider it a memorial to his real mother. Neatly resolved then. And I agree with what you say, my predecessor and successor said. I'm proud of you, Naruto. Thanks. Naruto rubbed the back of his head awkwardly. Sorry guys, I'm not going to be working with you the next couple of months. I have to go and get Tsunade of the Sanin back to Konoha, because Jiraiya thinks it might help him persuade her if I came along. Sakura nodded. Makes sense. I mean, she is your closest living relative. Naruto looked shocked. What? Her grandmother was Mito Senju, née Uzumaki. So she's descended from another member of the Uzumaki clan. You missed that? Oh, so that's where the name's familiar from. My dad said she used to be the Kyuubi container back when she was alive. Your dad? Sasuke asked, interested. Yeah, talk about a dream come true. Orochimaru summoned back all the old Hokages back when he was trying to kill the old man, and it turns out that the fourth was my dad. Kakashi slowly fell over in shock. Sasuke considered, nodded, then went back to learning shape manipulation. He had this idea for making the Chidori into things like laser beams, or Senbon, or Shuriken, or oh, so many ideas. Naruto grinned. And hey, maybe when I get back I'll teach you guys the Rasengan. It's pretty neat, and Jiraiya said how it might be possible to add elements to it. Kakashi twitched. Didn't Sensei never manage that? How much is Naruto going to break the normal rules of being a ninja, anyway? Hiruzen, the third turned. Ah, Danzo. Good morning. Thank you for not objecting to my slate of promotions from the Chunin exams. The old warhawk inclined his head. It was the least I could do. I was wrong, old friend. I thought that Konoha would be at too terrible a risk if her forces were allowed to soften in the decade of peace. You know how I wished for the Kyuubi Jinchuriki to be entered into root, but here we are, in the aftermath of an invasion and essentially no worse off. All thanks to that will of fire that I took for meaningless garbage. Danzo then straightened. Be that as it may, I have discovered that a number of ninja were overlooked for years by the system, and appear to have become emotionally conditioned by actors unknown. I am unsure for what reason, but I think I ought to bring it to your attention. Sarutobi smiled to himself. You never let slip anything that could possibly incriminate you, do you, Danzo? Well, fine then. I'll incorporate them into extant squads once tested. Jiraiya threw a scroll to Naruto. Here, Sensei gave it to me as I left. I think it's your Chunin vest. Feel free to modify it as you see fit. I sure did. Naruto grinned. Hell yeah, I made it. Any idea who else did? Both your teammates made Chunin as well, but apparently your team's being kept together as essentially a cohesive squad, at least until people feel less embarrassed taking orders from you. Niji didn't, but I don't think he noticed. That summon trick you used on him made him so out of it he didn't even notice the invasion. As for the rest, Jiraiya thought hard. Hinata did, Ino didn't, Tenten and Lee both did, and it was felt that attempting to invade the village meant that the Sand Genin could damn well get promoted by their own village instead of ours. Wow. Not bad then. Actually, that reminds me. I think your friend Gaara is being considered as the next Kazekage. Naruto blinked. Wait, he's the same age as me. How can they be fine with a 12-year-old in charge of a village? First is that he never sleeps, so it's more like 16 or 18 in terms of experience. Second, this is Suna. The people who looked at a puppet show and turned it into a combat art. Fair point. Gaara, like me, is a Jinchuriki son of the Yondaime Kage of our respective villages. And now he's becoming a Kage. Naruto gave a thumbs up. I like this trend. Sasuke entered the hospital room where Kakashi was recovering. Sensei, if you were involved in a tricky fight, you really should have called on us. I mean, we can help. At that moment Aoba ran into the room. Is it true that Uchiha Itachi was in Konoha and is now looking for the container of the Kyuubi? Kakashi blanched, and looked at his student. The only thing, there was a sign hastily placed against the wall, reading Captain, I would like to request use my first day of leave from duties due to a family matter. With a caw, an 8-foot hawk shot off past the window. Damn. Kakashi sank back onto the bed. Guy. Let us have a youthful challenge over which of us can catch my youthful subordinate first. Yosh. Guy jumped through the wall. Asuma looked over Kakashi. Aren't you basically bedridden? Kakashi nodded, and took out a book. I suppose that means he's going to win then. Good thing I speak youth. Naruto blearily opened the hotel door. Yeah, what is it? Itachi glared at him. You are the Nine Tails container? No, I just look like him. An awkward silence developed. Are you sure? Pretty sure. I mean, I know the whisker marks are misleading, but this is all cosplay stuff. Big fan, really. At that point the awkward atmosphere was broken by a call, and a crash as Sasuke rammed his summon into the corridor through an end wall. Itachi! The last loyal Uchiha roared, sparking a Chidori to life in his hand. I want answers about that night, Itachi said airily. Foolish little brother. I did it to test myself, I told you already. Not about that. What was Madara doing there? You are not yet full enough of Hatcher. Wait, what? Wow, Itachi, Kisame said with an undertone of laughter. That's the first time I've ever heard you raise your voice. Itachi spun and nailed Kisame with a glare. Tsukuyami. As his partner fell over, he whirled back to Sasuke. How the hell do you know about that? We worked it out. What I want to know is, why? Why did he want to destroy his own clan? Why force the Kyuubi to attack Konoha? Why did you help him? Itachi wiped blood from his eye, and took a deep breath. You have to understand, Madara is perhaps the most manipulative bastard on the entire planet. As far as I was concerned, the Uchiha clan's planned coup 4 years ago had to be halted, and he wanted to help me out of motives of revenge for their not supporting him decades ago. I never dreamed he would have the entire clan destroyed. Only the elders who were alive at the time. Sasuke stared at him. You didn't read many history books, did you? Not really, no. Didn't have the time when I was in the middle of a three-way tug-of-war between Root, Anbu, and the Uchiha clan. Fair enough. But what about the, oh, excuse me a second. Sasuke dismissed his hawk, earning a slightly peeved finally. And the hotel settled back where the summon had been. I wasn't going to say anything. Itachi commented. Anyway, I now believe he had the entire clan wiped out because he wanted to ensure that he was the only person left who could manipulate tailed beasts. Naruto added his own angle. The tailed beasts are normally just kind of jerks at worst. Madara's the reason they all went nuts about 10 years before the Valley of the End battle. I think that ties in. He's trying to isolate them. Itachi nodded. Makes sense. I mean, if the Bijou have been around for almost 1,000 years before now and there's still some semblance of a civilization, then they'd have to be. Kisame groaned in the corner. Itachi broke off for a moment and carefully peeled up his eyelid. Tsukuyami again. Now, where was I? Ah, yes. Akatsuki's plan is to capture and extract the 9 Bijou for an unknown purpose. There are several it could be, make new hosts, super weapon, whatever, but the leader wishes to bring peace. Somehow, Naruto frowned. He wants to commit murder repeatedly to bring peace? That makes no sense. No offense, none taken. Now, my plan was to essentially be really exaggeratedly evil, so that when Sasuke was old enough and came to kill me he could be seen as redeeming the clan. Since that would leave Madara around, it won't be the end, but it has to be done. Sasuke clenched his fists. Why? If you're still loyal, then why do I have to kill you? Itachi smiled gently. I'm dying anyway. Cancer, I think, made worse by the Mangekyo Sharingan. I'll be lucky to last another 4 years. And perhaps it's best that way. Madara's someone you can't really fight without a Mangekyo of your own, and if you kill me you will almost certainly end up with it. If you do take my eyes in place of yours, it will make it permanent and remove the corrosive effects. Sasuke nodded, angrily rubbing his eyes. I wish it didn't have to be this way. So do I. But then, we can't choose our lives, just what paths we make. Itachi took a set of pamphlets from his pocket. Here. Each of the current Akatsuki members, and what I know of them. Naruto took them. Thanks. Well, you better get going. Indeed. Goodbye, brother. Oh, and if anyone asks, what I made Kisame believe was that I broke Sasuke's arm, hit him with its Tsukuyami, then Jiraiya showed up just in time to save you too. All fiction, of course. Hey! Jiraiya shouted. I turned up easily in time, only because I'm not the mass-murdering psychopath everyone believed me to be. Itachi hoisted Kisame onto a shoulder and ran off through the hole the hawk had left. You know, Naruto mused, that's possibly the most pleasant missing nin I ever met. Sasuke forced a chuckle. You've met 3, 4. Kisame counts. Jiraiya walked over. Well, that went well. What were you planning to do if it became a fight? Naruto considered. Probably just start making two-tail clones and never stop. Sasuke leafed through the pamphlets. According to this, Kisame's sword steals chakra. It's got to have an absorption limit eventually. Naruto then pointed to Sasuke. And what are you doing here? Taking leave for a family bereavement. I checked, and you get a day for every dead family member. I have almost a year stored up. Can you claim leave earned in the academy? They don't say. I feel confident that my case will stand up in court though. It's a matter to be tried by the military police, as I am an Uchiha. Naruto's lips moved as he tried to process the chain of logic. That's fiendish. At that point, Guy jumped into the room and knocked Jiraiya out with a boot to the head. Well, Sasuke? Kakashi asked with a hint of sarcasm. Done with your little holiday? Yes, actually. Did you know that Itachi has a thing called the Mangekyo Sharingan, And can torture people mentally for days? Kakashi gave him a look. Why do you think I'm in hospital? He did it to me. Damn Uchiha and their broken bloodline limits. You can't talk, you have a Sharingan and are apparently so good with it that it's your nickname. Well, yes, but at least it's not the Mangekyo Sharingan OW. Kakashi clutched his headband. That was surprisingly painful. And now I have a sinking feeling. He picked up a mirror and moved his one-eye blindfold aside to reveal a three-petal design. Where the hell did that come from? Sasuke looked it over critically. It's different from Itachi's, probably an individual thing. What I'm more surprised by is that I have it at all. Itachi said it came from the guilt of killing your best friend, though presumably it's just someone you care for significantly, and then made permanent by taking the eyes of your brother. You're the most teamwork-obsessed person in Konoha. Who the hell did you kill? Kakashi looked down. I didn't, but I feel responsible for his death. I used to be a punctual loner who hated teamwork, if that gives you an idea of how badly I took it. It was him who gave me this eye, as he died, to replace the one I lost. Sasuke looked mollified. Explains the scar then. Who was it? Obito. Think Naruto, but an Uchiha, and not a demon container, obviously. I would rather not. Sasuke paused. Am I now the only person on the planet with an unevolved Sharingan? Looks like it. But I have no clue what mine does. Looks like after I get out of hospital I'll be staring at a target and saying every syllable chain in the language. Itachi's powers are named based on mythology, if that helps. Brat. I could take you out with one finger. Naruto hefted his fist. You're on. Jiraiya raised a hand. Can we perhaps do this a little out of town? I mean, this could get messy. Really? You been training the kid? I haven't really needed to. At that point a Naruto clone turned up. Hey boss, I found a coin and decided to try gambling. And well, I don't think we can actually lose at games of chance. Oh, neat. Grab a lottery ticket or something, perhaps? You got it. The clone vanished back into the crowd. Tsunade frowned. Impressive. Shadow clone? Yep, okay brat. Make your move. With a thump, Naruto materialized his two-tailed chakra cloak. Tsunade nodded absently to herself. Thought he looked familiar, that must be it. That or that I'm an Uzumaki, so technically your closest living relative. Naruto replied casually. Well? I'm waiting. Let's see you beat me with one finger. Okay, fine. I can't beat you with a finger. She tore up a piece of ground and compressed it into a dense ball, before flicking it at Naruto with a boom of tearing air. It hit his forehead and, while it didn't penetrate the cloak, still sent him sailing backwards from the sheer momentum of the impact. He eventually came back to earth with a thump, when his trajectory intercepted with a rock spire. Ow, see kid? Tsunade strolled over, her former teammate and current apprentice behind her. Not so easy to beat a sanin, is it? I got Orochimaru to go away. Blew his zombie Hokages up and stopped them from killing the old man. Naruto rubbed his forehead, his hand passing easily through the cloak. Geez, you hit worse than Sakura. Shizen stared. Are you okay? That much blunt force impact would at least concuss most people. Part of being the container is a pretty sweet passive regeneration. It's sort of necessary, as going above about the three-tail limit still means I begin to destabilize. She continued staring. How exactly are you unconcerned about that? I mean, if I knew my body would break down under the strain of anything, I'd panic over it. Name me an S-class ninja without something like that, Shizen thought. The fourth? Dad's last technique did kill him, though. And mine sticking to living ninja? The third? Breaking out the same technique before I intervened. Jiraiya? Jiraiya shook his head. Sage mode's incomplete for me. I get disfigurements which, while minor, still amount to spontaneous warts and my nose changing size. Shizen had to think hard. What about the current Raikage? I don't know much about him, so I have to concede the point. Bet he has something like it in reserve, though. Naruto lay back on the rock spire, which began crumbling ever so slightly under the pressure. But you take my point? At least I can fix it. Tsunade looked fascinated. So, does your regeneration mean you age faster, like mine does? Are you kidding? I'm short for 12, let alone 14 or whatever I'd be with that. It's related to shape-shifting, if that helps. She rubbed her chin. I'd love to study that. Well, if you would only come back to Konoha, then you'd have the chance. And it would be great for my teammate, too. She's a real fan of yours. Half the kunoichi in the elemental countries are fans of mine, brat. I'm one of the only Kage rank female ninja. Though apparently there's someone in Mist who's getting there. Naruto dropped his cloak and pulled out the set of pamphlets Itachi had given him. Hang on, there's someone on here as well. One of the members of Akatsuki is female. Wow, blue hair. Jiraiya started with shock. Let me see that. Naruto passed over the dossiers. When Jiraiya had them, he gasped. Conan, she's still alive? And an S-class ninja, as well. Tsunade snapped her fingers, trying to remember. Conan, that orphan girl from AIM? The one with the origami techniques? Jiraiya nodded. Yes. And while that sounds a bit pathetic, one must remember that explosive tags are made of paper. I have to wonder if the other two are also alive. Hang on, this is Yahiko. But with the Rinnegan? This makes no sense. Nagato was the one with the Rinnegan. Is the Rinnegan another of those eye powers? Like the Sharingan? Yes, actually. It's supposed to be the most powerful dojutsu of all, though given the Mangekyo Sharingan I'm not sure it can hold that mantle. Jiraiya took Itachi's file. At least most of the Mangekyo powers are eye-based. Nope, wait, that one makes even less sense than the Rinnegan. Giant three-armed storm god? Naruto nodded absently. So, what about it, Granny? You coming back with us? Tsunade sighed. It's pretty clear that I'm just going to end up back in Konoha anyway, isn't it? And don't call me Granny, what else am I supposed to call you? You're the same age as Jiraiya, and he's clearly 2 generations older than me, and you're a woman related to me. Unless you prefer great aunt? Oh, Dad said you two were my godparents, would that be okay? Tsunade blinked. I don't believe I missed that, that's why you look so familiar. Your dad's the 4th, right? When the hell did you speak to him? Orochimaru used the impure resurrection, and it seems Minato somehow subverted the commands he was given enough that he and Naruto just had a long chat. Jiraiya chuckled. It was really strange to watch, actually, this massive battle going hammer and tongs on one side of the arena, and on the other a kid in a 3-tailed chakra cloak and the 4th Hokage just sitting down for a talk. Tsunade chuckled. So he's had that chance, has he? He's very lucky, Jiraiya nodded. Yeah. Though, I just thought, did you ever get over that blood problem? The slug princess shook her head. No, I still just freeze up. Not the best problem for a medical ninja to have, really, Naruto grinned. I can fix that. Summoning, ninja therapist. Nii appeared in a puff of smoke. Jiraiya gasped. Did you say ninja therapist? As in, she is a fox that can help ninja with their emotional issues? Yeah, she does it a lot. Why is that significant? Shizen bent over to whisper. Naruto, most powerful ninja are really messed up in the head. In fact, most ninja are, period, and it's nearly impossible to find therapy for them. This may be more significant to medicine than that regeneration thing. Yeah, I guess Sasuke was a bit more messed up before Nii spoke to him, and so was Sakura and Gaara. I see your point. Nii was sitting on her haunches next to Tsunade, who was by now lying on a couch formed with an earth technique. So, tell me about your mother. Orochimaru looked around Tanzakugai. He was sure this was where Kabuto had said she'd be, and he needed Tsunade's help rather desperately before Kimimaro fell apart. With no curse seal on an Uchiha, it was looking like he'd have to use the Kagaya for his next body jump if he could get the boy healthy, that was. Tsunade? Where the hell are you? I have an injured subordinate that needs healing. I understand your trauma about this sort of thing, but it's not something to worry about. We just recently received objective proof that there is an afterlife. The former Hokages were pulled from there by Orochimaru, after all, personality intact, and come to think of it, we might actually owe him for rescuing the 4th from eternal torment, or whatever it is the Shinigami does. Tsunade nodded to the fox, not trusting herself to speak. There was something in her throat. Nii's gentle voice continued. And as for blood, well, seeing blood doesn't mean someone's dead. It means they're hurt, but anyone who still bleeds is still alive and can be saved. You're not going to let something you understand in all particulars simply defeat you that easily, are you? The last Senju clenched her fists. Hell no, blood is a conduit for power, a life-sustaining fluid, the representation of a person on a deep level. It's why it can be used for summoning. Above all, it is life, not death. Her patient gathered herself, and got up off the couch. Taking out a kunai and visibly steeling herself, she sliced her thumb and ran through the summoning technique. When she was able to finish without freezing up at the sight of her own blood, she looked at the resultant slug, a foot or so long, in wonder. I did it, thank you, Miss Nii, that's what I'm here for. The dichromatic fox vanished in a smoke cloud, ere the slug looked around. You haven't summoned any of us in years, is something wrong? And when did Minato get younger? Naruto blinked. Is the resemblance that obvious? Sakura held the leaf in her hands. She had managed to get a basic water technique, the violent water wave, off of Kakashi recently, and through learning it had got some sense of how to use water chakra. But the exercise of using the element without conversion seals was going poorly. Water. What is water? What does it represent? Subtlety. Flowing without touching. Power hidden, size unseen, depths. Versatility. In ice, water makes the element more solid. In boil, it conveys the power. In wood, it creates movement. In storm, it provides a path. In weapons, it makes the user more graceful. In all things, water is not the power, but the conduit for it. That which lets it seek the target. For a moment, her vision blurred, then the leaf was abruptly soaked. Within her mind, the Sakura of control stared around wildly. There was her warrior aspect, so who was controlling her body? Hello? Both Sakuras turned to the newcomer, surprised to hear a voice like their own. They saw a third Sakura, this one with deep blue eyes and a demure expression. I suppose that must have been surprising for you. In truth, it was for me as well. I think we just created a new aspect for the water element. Me, warrior gave a wild grin. Welcome to the party, then. You seem very humble, why is that? Control held up her hand. I think I know. Her element's affecting her personality, just like how you're more brash than I am. And it's more her being subtle than anything. Water nodded. That makes a great deal of sense. But does this mean that we will have to choose which of us is in use at any time? Control pointed to the chair. Well, not which one anyway. Water turned, a graceful and precise motion, to see that the single chair in their shared mind was replaced by two. Neat. Warrior weighed in. This mean we get 2 out of 3 now? I presume so. Sakura blinked twice, then got up from her seat and flipped through the seals for the violent water wave. The technique fired with a massive blast of water compared to her earlier uses, easily enough to be useful in combat. Another rapid blink, and she tried the technique again, this time omitting the first hand seal. It misfired, but a second try got it just right. Okay, being able to pick 2 of element, control and power is going to be kinda cool. An idea came to her, and she switched to power/control, then ran through the complex set of seals for self-measurement of chakra. It was designed to sort of flow one's chakra through it from one side of the measurement structure to the other, and quantify what went through as a point of light that shone with color. It rose from the ground to a meter in height as red, then returned to the bottom as orange and went again, this time taking several times the chakra for the same rise. Naruto had tried once, and, after a few dozen false starts, gotten a point that blazed through the entire rainbow in a second, before passing out of the human visual range. Kakashi had told him to end the technique at that point as they couldn't learn anything else useful, but the upper end he passed was Kage rank. Not that that hadn't been obvious from how he threw around a Jonin level force multiplier technique like confetti. Sakura's control alone was in the red, but her power alone was into the very low yellow. Now she got something about middling on the yellow, so her 2 aspects combined produced at least some more than both alone put together. More importantly though, that was enough that she could sustain a good illusion in combat. Clones she could manage with split attention, but much more took too much chakra for her control to supply alone. Or perhaps I should look into utility techniques. Body flicker is underused, as is replacement. Orochimaru stormed up the side of a mountain. Is this where you've gone, Tsunade? I was going to offer you a business proposition, sometime with Nawaki and Dan in return for healing one of my subordinates. And what's with the crater? Tsunade looked shifty. Nothing. What were you saying again? Jiraiya and Naruto legged it down the other side of the mountain. Naruto turned to his godfather. You sure this is going to work? Nope. But old Rochi always was one to go for known weaknesses, and if he tries to use her blood phobia on her he'll get a nasty shock. Anything else and Shizen'll have time to get us. This is just an excuse to perv out in a large civilian town for a week, right? The Toad Sage looked shifty. Partly, right. Naruto sighed. Time for more Rasengan practice, then. I still haven't got the hang of actually using it without a clone. Kakashi sighed to himself, and looked down again at the list they'd prepared. Thus far, he'd named every kami in Shinto from major to minor, all the legendary weapons and most of the mortal heroes. This is ridiculous. It might not trigger like this at all. And I'll be on to mythical beasts soon. I don't see why I have to do this. Sasuke rolled his eyes. If you have a Mangekyo Sharingan, then you're one of the people who could actually fight or negate another. And I want to know what kind of restrictions there are on the powers, as Madara never set the first on black fire. Fine. But you better get the Ainu encyclopedia, because soon we'll be out of Kami entirely and onto Kamui. The list vanished into a wormhole. Kakashi looked at the result for a few seconds, then, very slowly, fell over. Sasuke nodded appreciatively. Not bad. How much chakra did that take? Medic, no blood either. You somehow got the eternal Mangekyo from the transplant. Maybe your friend felt as guilty about you losing your eye in those last minutes or something? Get me medical attention, damn it. And cover my eye before you go. Okay, let's have a look at you. Tsunade grabbed Kimimara's arm and dragged him over to a small depression. Let's see, what are your symptoms? Sniffle? Headache? Perhaps a bit of cramp? Kimimaro glared at her. I am a Kagaya. I literally ripped my bones out of my body to use as weapons. The Senju nodded absently. Right, so you're probably calcium deficient. And my guess is that you don't actually get any proper medical checkups for how a poorly understood bloodline interacts with that tuberculosis, either. Orochimaru strode over, chuckling. Don't think I haven't tried, Tsunade. His bodily structure is radically different to that of anyone else I could experiment on. Orochimaru, are you actually capable of learning something without leaving a trail of corpses? Shizen asked curiously. Well, I tried once, but that was the whole incident with the wood element. Turns out that injecting 60 orphans with a dangerous, untested serum which may or may not even involve the first genetic material was a bad idea. Who knew? The snake Sanin mused absently. Even Kimimaro was looking a bit put off. For the first time, I'm glad that I'm the last of my bloodline. You didn't know if it contained his genetic material? Tsunade asked. His body was actually mostly missing by the time I got to it. There were signs the coffin had been opened before. Several times. Shizen frowned. That's kind of worrying. Tell me about it. The second was much more intact, but a quick test revealed no evidence of his water ability being an actual bloodline gift, and I lost interest. As for the fourth, well, that was no good either. His speed was completely unrelated to any bloodline, not even the swift release. Orochimaru rambled. Worst of all, though, was that I couldn't find a single Uchiha body. And when I went after Itachi, well, best not talk about that. Tsunade had largely tuned out her former teammates' rambling, as it was mostly focused on his wide-scale desecration of the graves of her family, but something made her pause her diagnosis technique. Wait, how did you not get an Uchiha? There were about 300 or so of them. I have no idea. At first I expected that Konoha had taken them all, but when the ninja forces failed to upgrade to Sharingan eyes like Kakashi, well, so much for that. Tsunade rolled her eyes. And morality plays no part in it, I'm sure. Well, yes. Danzo is still alive. Kimimaro rolled his arms experimentally. I can actually move properly. That hasn't happened for years. Tsunade wiped sweat from her brow. Don't strain yourself for a while. That means no major combat, no strenuous training, and no opening the gates. But I don't open the gates. The Kage looked confused for a moment. You had severe damage to the tenketsu, and tissue around the gate of pain. That's where strain builds up faster than any other gate, so it's often seen on really serious taijutsu users. That kind of scarring isn't found from anything else except being stabbed in the spine by a fire chakra blade. Orochimaru sighed, annoyed at having to reveal one of his secrets. Kimimaro, the curse seal is a stabilized form of opening the gates. Normally, it would reverse the effects by promoting healing as the gate of life shut down, though I assume in this case it's not work due to your illness. Tsunade nodded to herself. That would do it. Anyway, the damage is still quite bad and, as your lungs aren't toughened like the rest of your body, opening the fourth gate could lead to massive rupture of the pleural cavity. And that would be just nasty. Right. Now, Tsunade, Orochimaru gave a vicious grin. A promise is a promise. Mind getting your assistant over here? The technique does require a human sacrifice, and I'm all out of sound genin after what I did to bring the Hokages back. Shizen replied by firing a cloud of poison to obscure her position, and Tsunade frowned in momentary mental effort. The slug on Naruto's shoulder, underneath the jumpsuit, fired a brief burst of acid and dispersed. Naruto reacted to the sting even as it regenerated. It's time, Jiraiya, brat. Jiraiya shouted as both leapt from the building. Use a respectful name for me like everyone else does. I know you better than they do, that must be it. Naruto replied, then bit his thumb and summoned Orochimaru. Get up there and summon me, speedy, if you're sure. The silvery fox flowed off with a wash of displaced air. Jiraiya shook his head. Only you, kid, would use a summon to cover 2 miles of distance. By the time the old man had finished speaking, Naruto was gone. Orochimaru began by summoning Manda. It was a good first step, as his summoning also involved a liberal amount of blood and would immobilize Tsunade. So it was with confidence that he slashed his thumb down his contract tattoo and invoked the most powerful of the snakes, along with 2 more as a support team. Where are my sacrifices, Orochimaru? You know I demand them. Manda roared as he materialized. Orochimaru chuckled. There's a town just downhill, that work? Called Tanzaka or something. It's large enough to sate you. But kill Tsunade first, will you? The ground shook, and Orochimaru returned his attention to the main battlefield. It wasn't an encouraging sight. Tsunade, rather than cowering in hemophobic shock, was bringing out her own giant slugs. Kabuto had emerged from his cover, and was delaying engaging Shizen until his anti-poison technique was up. And Kimimaro wasn't killing either of his opponents. Why? Well, that would be because that infernal Kyuubi Jinchuriki was attempting to knock him unconscious for trying to attack Granny. Oh, Uzumaki. That was where he recognized the brat's name from when Kabuto had reported to him. Brilliant. He'd pissed off every surviving relative of the 3 dead Hokages at once, and they were all here. Both of them. At that point, Jiraiya arrived on the battlefield by way of Gamabunta landing on one of his secondary summons. This just kept getting better and better. Oh wow! Came a voice from the Jinchuriki. This is a big summon battle, right? I'll join in. Then a trio of foxes, not the size of his own large snakes, but nearly, appeared and began attempting seriously to fillet the other secondary snake summon. Orochimaru multiplied himself with clones and drew the Kusanagi. He hadn't planned on fighting both his former teammates, but he was confident he could make a good go of it. So, what's the deal with you anyway? Naruto asked as a bone evaporated against his chakra cloak. Kimimaro frowned in annoyance and pulled out another. I mean, that bone thing you're doing is just gross. And I don't think it's healthy either. It is a bloodline, the dead bone pulse. Kimimaro replied, and tried making his bones sword harder than steel. A quick test showed it to simply evaporate slower, and the other boy's dodging meant that it couldn't hit him before being too degraded to be any good. It lets me manipulate the calcium in my bones. Wow, that's kinda cool, but still disgusting. Aren't bloodlines found in families? Where's yours? I was the only Kage in a generation with this bloodline, and used as a weapon against the people of Mist. I have heard that this was involved in strengthening the bloodline purges of the village. Bloodline purges? That makes no sense. People with bloodlines fight better because they get a chance to survive long enough to get some experience. Why would anyone just kill off all their best ninja? I do not know. But the 4th Mizukage was involved. In any case, I owe my lord Orochimaru a great debt for saving me from a life of loneliness and misery. Naruto considered this as a chakra-enhanced tail whipped around with barely a moment of mental effort and intercepted a barrage of finger bones. Seriously, that's not right. And I suppose if that's the way you think, then I can't gainsay you. The other tail from his current shroud smacked Kabuto in the face. And as for you, creepy glasses guy, shove off and stop trying to hurt Shizen. A shower of Saban needles volleyed after the traitorous Konoha ninja, and he was only able to block most of them, the remainder giving him quite an impressive set of piercings across the ears and cheeks. Lord Orochimaru! Came Kabuto's cry. We must retreat. Orochimaru turned as 3 mud clones, a water clone, a shadow clone, and 2 summoned snakes launched another massive attack salvo that Jiraiya evaded with a summoned frog, 2 A-rank earth techniques, a Rasengan, and by unsealing an A-rank fire technique in a scroll to torch the summons. For a moment he was thrown. What is leader from Akatsuki doing here? Oh, hang on, that's Kabuto under the piercings. What? Why, I have this totally under control. With a crash, Manda landed next to him. That Tsunade was struggling out of a large crater cursing, on the other side of the field, explained where he'd come from. Tsunade on full boost was fully capable of beating up a Bijou, but the main issue was finding somewhere to stand to use it. I'm leaving, Orochimaru. Next time, summon me to face Gamabunta or Katsuyu, not both. The great serpent vanished in a cloud of smoke. Orochimaru winced. Okay, maybe not totally. His clones had kept up their side of the battlefield, but when they launched 3 different elemental great dragon techniques at Jiraiya, the Toad Sage finally felt enough was enough and unleashed his own trump card. At the sight of Jiraiya entering Sage mode, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki not even fatigued from fighting Kimimaro for 5 minutes, the boy had in fact barely moved, his cloak protecting him, but Orochimaru hadn't been paying attention, and the enemy starting to win the summon war, he decided to cut his losses and preserve his gains. Making a quick signal to his subordinates, he vanished with them in a body flame technique. He was fond of it. It allowed much longer range jumps than the flicker. Plus it looked nice. Jiraiya released Sage mode, and sighed. Well, he's gone. Tsunade scowled. All that gaff about honored Sage mode, and you being a sealing master, and you forgot to ward the battlefield against long-range teleports. I don't know, Jiraiya, you seem to have lost your touch. The Toad Sage grinned, accepting the jab. And what about you, Tsunade? Who was it I saw forgetting to harden the ground under her when she punched Manda? He rounded on Naruto. And did I see you having a little chat with that Kagaya in the middle of the battlefield? What was all that supposed to be about? Naruto shrugged. He hadn't actually hurt anyone else, and he seemed more unsure about how he couldn't hurt me than anything. Not much can in 2 tails. Besides, remember Gaara? And Itachi? Most people tend to reveal useful things if I keep them talking. Tsunade shrugged. It's true, that seems to work with most people. Don't know if you heard, but old Snakey lets slip that his curse seals are based on the inner gates, and that's gold. Is his old student still in Konoha? I think we might want to analyze the thing again with that tidbit. Naruto jogged over to his 3 large summons. You guys okay? No, Joe, huh? The 3 foxes made rumbles of assent. Actually, where do your names come from anyway? Jiraiya pondered. Sounds like it's related to plays. No is a type of play in 3 acts. Joe ha Q, Naruto snickered. Nice one, guys. So the largest of you is Ha, and then the only larger fox on the contract completes the chain. Morning, sensei. Out of hospital? Kakashi nodded. That move gave me chakra exhaustion in seconds. I'm not sure if this Kamui. Kakashi's forehead protector vanished into a miniature wormhole and he collapsed. The medics caught him. Wow, that was perhaps the shortest time anyone's ever been admitted to hospital twice for the exact same problem. Tsunade laughed. You're kidding. So after you got your summon contract by total accident, the same way as this idiot, she punctuated her sentence by cuffing Jiraiya around the head as he began to reach for Shizen, and then the Uchiha on your team got his by a similar little reverse summoning. Your 3rd team member found a contract absolutely perfect for her in a backpack. Naruto nodded. Well, it was Kori who found it, but Sakura certainly took to the contract well. And we're all Chunin, so we seem to be following in the footsteps of your team, Granny. Brat. She shouted automatically. But go over the animals again? Why? Jiraiya rubbed his head. I'll lay off the super strength when you do that. Tsunade, you replaced half your yang chakra with spirit frog essence. You can bloody well take it. That's just mean, Jiraiya pouted. And as for what she was asking, the summons that our old team had shaped our relationship in, initially, subtle ways. Naruto thought for a second. Snake frog slug, oh, I see. It's like Jan, Ken, Pan. Exactly. Snake beats frog beats slug, and slug beats snake. Though interestingly, when we were last a team our personal battles would have gone the other way. I could beat Orochimaru at the time and so on. But our summons don't really have any connection, do they? Fox, hawk, otter. Tsunade's lips moved for a moment. Got it. They're separate but equal, each the small, but still valid, apex predator of a different environment. Land, air, water. Jiraiya looked contemplative. That could be encouraging. If their summons personify the theme of their team dynamic, then it's going to be stable rather than dynamically unstable like ours was. Heh, that and we're all scared of Sakura. Hang on. Shizen was getting cross-eyed. You can form a Jinchuriki cloak and another person on your team is an Uchiha, the last loyal one if I recall. And you're scared of this Sakura? She has some sort of mental aspect thing going on. She can be a bookworm with perfect chakra control 1 second and a taijutsu specialist the next. Hey, she hits hard. Aspect? Tsunade considered. Kami blood? Probably. Yeah, the old fox mentioned that. He said she had potent divine heritage or something. Ah, Tsunade, good to see you. Sarutobi shuffled his paperwork to the side. I understand that your godson there has done the same thing he does with everyone that gets within 10 feet of him, and resolved most of your outstanding issues. Tell me, would you mind helping out in hospital at all? I understand that, in addition to the normal cases and a rather unusual case of combat trauma in a Hyuga, Kakashi Hatake is in and out of the hospital every other day. Something about a technique that eats through most of his chakra in one use. Tsunade nodded. Hang on, where did the combat trauma come from? Naruto scratched the back of his head. That was basically me. I used my boss summon to swallow him whole during the Chunin exams, and I think he was in divination circle mode at the time. All the older ninja winced. Lord Hokage, does that mean Izumo asked from the mission desk? Yes, the Byakugan can provide 360-degree perception of an area of space. I don't really want to think about it. Okay, guys, I finally got this working so now I can teach you. The Rasengan, Naruto formed one in his hand, is one of my father's 2 signature techniques, an A-rank ninjutsu that can basically chew through rock. It is also incomplete. Sasuke blinked his Sharingan eyes. You're kidding. Nope. This is a shape transformation technique alone. Hypothetically, it could be worked with nature transformation, but Dad apparently kept blowing up shadow clones and just stopped trying after a bit. Oh, by the way, if either of you two try and complete it, use a shadow clone. This thing's damn powerful as it is, and if it has an element in it, things just get worse. Destabilization is like holding an explosive tag. Sakura chuckled. You already tried, didn't you? The boy scowled. Yep, slightest hint of wind chakra and boom. He brightened. But apparently both of you can manage at least the Rasengan at your current level of chakra, so here's how it works. First step is to use your chakra to pop a water balloon, by swirling the chakra in it in multiple directions at once. Sasuke took one of the balloons. Seems simple enough. Yeah, when Jiraiya taught me he left out the second half of the sentence as a test. Freaking hermit. Sakura frowned as she took one, and went power/control. You learned this in a month? More, to do it one-handed? More like 2.5 months, call it a good few years in clone time. The tricky bit was getting my chakra swirling differently depending on the tenketsu in my hand. I got with the clone form of it in hours once inspiration hit, and I filled in the gap. But your control's still pathetic for your rank. This is an A-rank technique based on pure chakra manipulation, not even any hand seals. I've always substituted determination for skill, you know that. Sakura chuckled, and got to work. Swirl it clockwise and anti-clockwise from alternating tenketsu. The balloon punctured and slowly emptied. Okay, that means you messed it up somehow. I'd guess one of the directions formed stronger than the others and it ripped at the pole of that one. Sakura took another balloon and paused, before trying again slower. Both directions at once, juggle them carefully and power them up. With a wash of water, the balloon tore. Wow, that's great. Only 2 goes. Naruto enthused. Hang on, I forgot to get the rubber balls for stage 2. Sasuke reactivated his Sharingan. Mind me having a look at what it's supposed to form like, you two? I don't have the perfect control or the clones to do it by trial and error. Sakura held out her hand and reformed hers, as Naruto had already run off. Inwardly she was bubbling with new ideas. I know my control's good, very good. So what could I do if I had some ability to actually sense the chakra I use for feedback? I'll have to look into how the village trains sensors. Well, apart from the ones from the clans, like the Hyuga and the Yamanaka and the Inuzuka, wow, we have a lot of clans with sensory talent. Hope they still have classes for non-clan sensors. Sasuke was talking again. That is weird. I feel like, well, I can see it, but my eyes don't want to copy it or something. I think they can only copy complete seal sequences and sort of work around the mental aspect of the expressed chakra. Makes sense. And it explains why our sensei, is he out of the hospital yet, by the way? Hasn't got any copy techniques with less seals than normal. Sasuke nodded in agreement. He's still in hospital. Every time he gets out, I get him to practice his Kamui technique, and he goes right back in again. Why? The Uchiha shrugged. Mostly revenge for his training philosophy and wave, really. If massive use of chakra makes it grow faster, then nearly killing himself with that hilariously costly technique should give him Kage reserves inside a year. That's evil. I approve. Kakashi sneezed. His students were talking about him again. Damn Sasuke, I'll set guy on him if he's so enthusiastic about training. Sasuke shivered. Where did that sense of incredible foreboding come from? Okay, I got the rubber balls. Naruto called. This one's the same as the last one, but it's about making sure you can put enough chakra into the Rasengan to pop the ball without the water helping. This was the easiest step of the lot for me. I don't mind telling you. Let me guess. First ball just exploded hard enough to put shrapnel in the walls. Wrong. It was the second. The first was vaporized when I used Yukai. Kakashi strolled over to his 3 Chunin. Good news. I'm out of the hospital again. Sasuke spun to look at his sensei, dropping his rubber ball. Sensei, what's the name of your Mangekyo technique again? Kakashi flinched. You're not getting me with that one again. I refuse, categorically, to train in using the. He noticed Sasuke looking eager. Unspecified and utterly not to be named technique anymore. Sasuke nodded. So it still activates whenever you say the name, then. Not my fault. Now, on to the point. You 3 have been hired, with me, probably due to the show you put on in the exams, for a mission in the Land of Snow. Basically, they have a recalcitrant princess who is now an actor they need brought back to her country to lead a revolution. Or make a film. Either or, really, the 3 just stared. Sasuke eventually spoke for them. What? I don't see the problem. This is either a C rank or an A rank, Sakura said. I mean, remember what eventually happened in Wave. There was a revolution there, and while the Konoha ninja that went to help out didn't have a problem, they could have if Zabuza and that fake Hunter Nin had reappeared. Naruto frowned. The Hunter Nin was fake? Don't worry about it, Naruto. If you haven't worked it out by now, then just never mind. Kakashi coughed. Actually, Miss sent us a nice note saying that a lot of their missing Nin are no longer missing, so Zabuza is back in the 7 Swordsmen. That does mean he's still alive, obviously. It seems that there was a revolution. They seem popular lately, and the Kage got utterly vaporized by a massive explosion. Who are the other 7 swordsmen then, sensei? Asked Sakura. Nobody yet. At the moment it's more of a 1 swordsman. Kakashi shook his head. But enough of that. Let's get going to the port we meet our client at. And just why did you beat up our client? Kakashi asked, laughter in his voice. Sasuke winced. Damn, we all got too caught up in that film. Naruto, stop the actress. Right. Naruto flashed through a summoning. Orochimaru. Get me in front of the woman on that horse, will you? If that's what you want, well, here you go. What's the plan? Naruto responded by summoning again. Kane, be ready for a replacement. Kori, throw up an illusion trigger cloud across her path. Mo, go with Kane for when she finally works it out. So you're going for a prank? We have taught you well. Please, I got you guys for a reason. Princess Fuji rode desperately for safety. She couldn't go back to snow. It was impossible. She'd be killed. Even if all the people there suffered under the rule of her uncle, she was too afraid. Her vision blurred, and she rubbed at her eyes, lowering herself on her mount to go faster. Several minutes later, she felt her horse slowing. Up till now, she'd been too busy making sure she didn't hit anything to pay attention to where she was going, but now she could look around. She saw warehouses, the skyline of the town behind her, and a wharf ahead, including the ship her manager had chartered to go to snow. How? Are we done now? Came the voice from below her. Shocked, she looked again at her mount, and saw a red-furred back instead of the horse she was expecting. Kane walked up to the Konoha team. Here she is. Nice one, Naruto. She didn't spot it until I spoke. Kakashi looked the princess over. She was enthusiastically cuddling a fox that appeared to be mostly made up of a pair of big, dewy eyes, seemingly oblivious to the world around her. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck. She'll be out of it for a while, may as well get her on the ship now. That iceberg looks like the perfect place to get some filming in. The 3 Chunin looked between one another. Sakura spoke first. I'll be close range, Sasuke be support. Naruto, do that sensor thing and have your fire summons ready. I never bothered ending the summon on Kane, but point taken. Naruto sat down and focused. Wow, the nature chakra here is really different to Konoha. Sort of crisp and clear. Still works fine though. He opened his eyes. Nothing certain, but there's some areas of higher than normal chakra concentration. Keep your guard up. Don't have to tell us, Naruto. Sasuke muttered, and activated his eyes. Hey, actually, watching acting like this is pretty neat. I wonder if they might do special effects like it. What, some sort of time-slowing thing where you can see the flight of shuriken? Shuriken time? Yeah, could work. Catchy name. What the hell? Chakra shield? Sasuke fired off a phoenix flower to test that, producing a shimmer of chakra backlash and no other effect. That's right. It absorbs the chakra of attacks to provide a defense. Sakura threw a kunai at one of the snow ninja. It hit the shield and bounced off. Your weapons are also useless. Hang on, where's the chakra in a kunai? The snow kunoichi looked a bit unsure. I think it also uses our own chakra to shield. You can't get through it with only techniques, at any rate, and generally we're invincible. 2 of the snow nin fired off ice attacks at Sakura, and the third began to send ranged attacks at the more distant Sasuke, who replied with his own tools for the enemy kunai and fire attacks on the jutsu. Sakura was saved by a flaming fox that kanoni through the attacks and dispersed them, followed by Kane, who began sending his own fire attacks in support. Thanks, Kujura. Think nothing of it. Aya, the smaller fox bounced up from Kane's back. Yippee boom! The snow ninja may have been immune to elemental attacks, but being positively bathed in flame wasn't exactly pleasant. Naruto! Get the film crew back onto the boat. We're pulling out of here. I wanted to test the limit of that armor. Naruto muttered, as his customary horde of clones carted everyone off the iceberg. Kakashi's contribution to the fight was to throw a copied ice technique at the snow ninja, something Sasuke quickly began to do as well from the back of a hawk summon. Naruto's foxes dismissed themselves as the ice finally collapsed, and Sakura hurriedly replaced herself with a somewhat startled Naruto clone to get on the boat. Hey, that was really cold, Sakura. Oh, cool off. Besides, if I hadn't, I'd have been adrift and on ice, all at sea. Sasuke winced. Those puns might have broken the ice, but they're not much good otherwise. Kakashi gave a heartfelt groan. What the hell is that thing? It's a train. Isn't it? I have no idea what a train is supposed to be, or for that matter those colorful metal wagons from earlier. Come to think of it, who was the seal master who made the cinema? All of that is technology, Naruto. Keep up, I would if I could. If we have technology that does all this sort of thing, then why does only Snow Country use it? Apart from things like fridges and TVs, which kind of seem more complicated to me. Kakashi blinked. Not sure. Hell, Dota lost it. Pay attention to me, damn it. The train sides opened to reveal kunai launchers. Naruto formed a quick seal and continued talking. I'd rather not. Now, as I was saying, hundreds of clones formed and began seals. Gusty barrier. Sakura watched as the walls of wind threw the kunai barrages everywhere but at the targets. Nice one, Naruto. When did you learn that one? One of my clones saw the sensei of Team 10 demonstrating, and it looked useful, so I asked him about it. You know, he wasn't aware there was another wind affinity in Konoha? He was so pleased. Then I just put 50 clones on it for a week, and here we are. Sakura tried to track how much time Naruto had spent on the technique. That's what, a year's training? Not really. All it means is that I get the absolute top % training day, 7 days in a row. I've always learned kinda fast. Tell me about it, hang on. Is Asuma Sarutobi the only other wind affinity in Konoha? Seriously? Kakashi nodded. Wind in general is pretty rare, and we live in the land of fire, so elementally wind is at a disadvantage. Arg! Doton shouted. Retreat and get the airship, you fools. Sasuke shook his head. Why Naruto let himself get captured, I have no idea. One of the remaining clones on the ground snickered. Easy. This way, the boss gets taken to the castle, and then he can bring you guys along. But will he be able to break out? Or summon? Sakura thought for a moment. Right, stupid question. He can shape-shift and has 9 tails of chakra in his gut. Exactly, 3-1 and I can't take it anymore. Naruto gently tugged on his second chakra source, then pushed. The entire prison lit up like a Christmas tree, and then the less well-buffered absorption arrays began to explode. Princess Kazuhana gasped. What are you doing, me? I'm actually putting some effort into things. The seal tag on the door exploded, doing nothing at all to the Jinchuriki but handily blowing the door down for him, and the manacles gave way. Naruto dropped his tailed state and got to summoning. Aya ni, you know what to do, Kakashi sighed as his other 2 Chunin vanished in smoke. Right, we may as well attack now. I should really see about getting in on that whole reverse summon network they have going. It's alright, I knew this, Naruto. When I returned here I would die. Naruto replied by punching out a tail of forming chakra at the black chakra armor, and took some considerable satisfaction as it began to glow red hot. Doton hurriedly disappeared up into his airship before the seal arrays could overload completely. That would have been fun. Hey princess, where's your necklace? He took it. He must be going to activate my father's hidden ultimate weapon, Naruto sighed. You know, technically I'm the ultimate weapon here. It's some kind of sealing technological wonder. I have no idea what it is. Doton could do anything with it. Fine. I suppose regime change is a worthy goal. Hey, does this mean we're going to be in the next film? Well, look at that. It's a light show machine. Doton winced. Never mind that. I'll still get rid of you. And then the 2 of his chakra-armored ninja got hit by lightning bolts and collapsed. The third, the Kunoichi, looked around wildly for a second before a blizzard of kunai exhausted her chakra shield and took her out. Sakura grinned. Cease fire, Naruto clones. I knew getting you to collect all those kunai would come in handy. Sasuke banked overhead on his Thunderbird. And turns out that they can't really handle the lightning element. Go figure. Doton turned to the disaster in shock. What? The chakra armor is invincible. Naruto spun up a Rasengan, watching as it collected the local, rainbow effect chakra. This is kinda cool now, I want to see what it does. Just try it, brat. Your teammates may have beaten my subordinates, but my black chakra armor is much stronger. Eat prismatic Rasengan. AF, so much for that. Hey, it looks like he hit the light show machine and he broke the ice and what? A pulse of power spread out from the machine, and in seconds the entire country was suddenly the perfect picture of springtime. What the hell? That cannot be natural. Sakura looked it over. This is strange, I can almost read this. It seems to say something about the glory of spring to the land of snow. Sasuke dismounted from his hawk. I don't see anything. No, I mean the seals themselves. I know, lost it. Whatever it was, I can't see it anymore. I'm more concerned about where the animals came from, Naruto said. I mean, come on. Butterflies? Oh, hey, Sasuke. Finish the Rasengan? Sasuke nodded. I think I might try adding an element to it, actually. How hard can it be? Your choice. Just do it with a shadow clone. I guess you copied that off me? No. You do it with fewer seals. I can only copy complete seal sequences. Huh. Makes sense, I suppose? Naruto ran through the complete normal sequence for the shadow clone, and only made one this time. There you go, thanks. Sasuke formed a shadow clone, and it began to focus fire chakra into the whirling ball of the Rasengan. Boom! Bits of debris rained down around them, and Sakura hurriedly fired off a water technique to put out the nascent fire. Wow, I see what you mean. There's no way I'm trying that myself. Naruto did a double take. Our next mission is to escort someone having a foot race? This is just sad. Yes. Someone called Idate Marino. Sakura read. Idate Marino? As in that Ibiki guy who tried to traumatize all of us? You know I don't know. Sakura tapped her chin with her finger. Could be let's go and ask him, Sasuke grunted. How? Okay, fine then. Let's not ask him. Wait, hang on. Look. Naruto pointed at the underside of the mission scroll. Sakura flipped it over. A storage seal? Let's see, another scroll came out. Oh wow. This is how Ibiki got his scars. Apparently, some instructor got his brother to steal the Raijin from Konoha because the instructor said it would mean he'd get promoted. Naruto sighed. Sounds familiar. Sasuke was instantly alert. Raijin? As in, the legendary sword of the second Hokage? I think, dibs. So very, very dibs. I want that sword. Naruto was a little taken aback. Sure, but why? That sword was able to make the second all but unbeatable on the battlefield. He was a water element, so it can clearly convert chakra into lightning element chakra. I can use the Chidori twice, maybe 3 times a day. This would do what the Chidori does for no cost, or very little. I want that sword. Naruto stepped back a bit. Wow, you're coming on a bit strong there. There are hardly any legendary weapons. Orochimaru and Itachi have 2 of them, Kusanagi and Sakanaji. I am very, very interested in getting one myself. Sakanaji? Not sure, but it's in the brochure. So, Sakura said brightly. I think we can assume the guy with the Raijin is the bad guy, then. Better than that. This scroll has photos, and a note from Ibiki. It says, get that bastard who screwed with my brother. Naruto, that's just not fair. What? Naruto asked. From his palanquin, he made one out of scrounged materials, and was having a dozen shadow clones carry him so that if, or when, they had to fight after going alongside Idate in the race, he would be rested. It makes it look like you're taunting the racers. Well, I could just have a fox or 3 parallel the course, but frankly this sounds better to me. I get to see the race, and keep an eye on those rain genin. One of them still looks at me nasty. Sakura nodded. She could hardly argue with that logic. At least not with other pressing issues. Are those the same rain genin from the exams then? Were they the one that Kori stole the otter contract from? Damn, you might be right. Better keep them out of sight. You, hey, rain genin. Oboro, right? Naruto said nervously. You stole my contract. Give it back. How was it stolen? There were literally no living signatories to it, and you'd forgotten it in the bottom of a bag. Besides, I can't give it back, I don't have it. Oboro was by now practically shaking with anger. Who does then? Naruto pointed to Sakura. She does. Thanks a lot, Naruto. Any time, Sakura sighed. I'll get him later. Now, the thing is, I don't actually think you're right for them. They seem really pleased with me, and you're not the sort of person who'd fit them if I am. We're quite different. Sasuke tapped Oboro on the shoulder. If you perform the summoning technique with no contract, you get sent to the land of the most appropriate summon. You might want to try that. Fine, I will. And if I get sent to the land of the otters, you're giving that contract right back. Oboro took a soldier pill, flipped through the hand seals and vanished. Sasuke was counting to himself. And 0. Boom. What just happened, Sasuke? Sakura asked. I planted an explosive note on him on a 20-second fuse and made him remove himself from where there are witnesses. Fiendish and slightly ruthless. Thanks. Naruto, meanwhile, was chatting with Mubi and Kagari. What, your Kage wears a slashed headband? That doesn't make sense. He's God. He and his angel can do as they like. I thought most people were polytheist. You know, the gods descended from Izanami and Izanagi, that sort of thing? I myself am rather partial to Inari. Most are. But we are not anymore, for Pain our god and his angel have shown us the error of our ways by killing the false gods, and their foul servant the salamander. Naruto shook his head. And I thought people found my ramen obsession weird. In the land of the oil-producing squid, Bink. Oboro looked around wildly. Where am I? He became aware of a hissing. Looking down, he saw the tag on his clothes. Oh, son of a. One of the squids saw him, and its eyes widened. Boom, fwum, bababa-bee-bee-bee-bee-bee-om. Kane sneezed. Who? Someone did a really good prank somewhere. A rain headband bounced past. Well. Just goes to show that 3 Chunin who were promoted too early can't take down a Jonin. Aoi chuckled to himself. But I suppose I can be magnanimous. I'll put the effort in to kill you with the most powerful weapon I possess, the Raijin, the sword of the lightning god. The traitor pulled the hilt out of his pocket and lit it, the legendary sword crackling to life. Then everything happened at once. The 3 Konoha Chunin of Team 7 vanished in smoke clouds. A hawk shot past at head height and bit Aoi's fingers. Then another and larger one followed, and Sasuke astride it grabbed the Raijin out of the air. Naruto emerged from underground with a tiny fox on his head, and Sakura replaced with it as it jumped off his hair. Then she began providing cover as he charged the shocked Jonin with a Rasengan in each hand. Aoi, it transpired, wasn't a very good Jonin. Well, that went well, Sakura said brightly. You're telling me? We managed to help out Ibuki's brother and get him closure, completed the mission. Sasuke has his sword. Yisu will be my sword, and that is a good thing, because Raijin is a good sword, and is being kinda creepy, and the land of tea feel in debt to wait a sec. Idate couldn't become a Chunin because he failed the Chunin exams? Sakura shrugged. Yeah, so? When? At what point in the exams can you fail permanently? That question from Ibuki perhaps? No, if you took it you passed. Huh. Don't know then. Ah, good. Team 7, I have an urgent request for you. Apparently, spies of Orochimaru's broke into the village and stole the still traumatized Niji Hyuga. He didn't offer much resistance. Sakura raised her hand. Shouldn't that be kidnapped? When someone's that rigid they get stolen. Anyway, they are heading for the village of Hidden Sound in the land of rice. You are directed to retrieve him. Support has been requested from Sand but may not arrive in time. Jirobo chuckled. You haven't got a hope of getting out of here. I'll drain your chakra dry. The earth dome began to vibrate, then glow red. Jirobo started sweating, seized up and fell backwards. A pair of monstrous chakra arms burst through the top of the dome of earth, and began tearing pieces off. The Sound 3 split up and began running for it as Naruto tore the dome down. Sasuke grunted. You could have done that a lot quicker. Yeah, but this way looks better. Alright, we need to follow them. If you work out which has the barrel, let us know. Sakura instructed. Wait, barrel? Sasuke frowned. Naruto explained for him. One of my clones spotted the barrel just before it popped. They seem to have put Niji in it. Why, I don't know, but it's probably easier to carry him like that, Sasuke considered. Okay. Naruto, take the guy with 2 heads. Sakura, the enemy Kunoichi, and I'll handle the freaky arms guy. Our blood limit lets us merge with your very body. And Naruto went 2 tails, and the violent eruption of Millie's chakra burned Yukon out of his system. Sakan gulped. What happened to brother? Not sure, but it looked unpleasant. I'll just be going then. The remaining brother sidled off, and was barely out of sight when he screamed abruptly, and fell silent. Kankuro walked into the clearing with his 2 puppets, one of them reassembling itself after a nasty little finisher. Wait, are you the reinforcements? Naruto asked. Yes. Konoha's allies. Naruto waited. That's all you're saying? Basically, yeah. Oh, that reminds me. My siblings are along as well. Temari headed off to the northeast and Gaara went north. How is Gaara doing, actually? I heard he was going for Kazekage. Yeah. His campaign's slogan is "It makes sense. I can use the entire desert as a weapon." Also, all the other Kazekage have Ichibi-based powers too. I cut out the middleman. Neat. In our case, it seems like every Jinchuriki has been at the least married to a Kage. Taiya chuckled. See? I use puppets made of pure chakra, which means there's nothing for you to destroy. And don't think you can sever the animation strings, there aren't any. She played a few notes, and the hulking monsters ponderously moved to attack Sakura. Sakura replied by blinking, forming a Rasengan and replacing with Taiya's flute. Temari tree-hopped into the clearing seconds later. The Sand. Then she looked around. EW. Oh, hi Temari. Did you make Chunin? Actually, I did. The council decided that my not fighting Konoha in the invasion was a sign of good forethought, and to be honest I think the prospect of fighting that weapon girl scared them too. Neat. Sakura blinked, performed a water camping technique and cleaned herself of the bits of sanin. Oh, that's going to make me feel unpleasant for days. Sasuke swung the Raijin in desperate arcs. Kidomaru was making it rain spiders, spider-based weapons and the occasional arrow made of natural Kevlar. His lovely, lightning sword helped, as it could absorb anything that happened to be elemental and electrocute anything that wasn't, but even his 3. At 12, Tomo's Sharingan was barely enough to keep him in the running. Was this guy made of caffeine or something? Yeah. Feel the wrath of my best equipment loadout, N00B. Kidomaru called, before hearing a low voice behind him. Shinobi. An enormous mass of sand landed on him, and he knew no more. You summoned the Shukaku on top of him? Sasuke asked dubiously. Gaara stared back. It worked. Tell your teammate that I desire his address. I hunger for a pen pal. Sure, I'll do that. We better get Niji out of that barrel, though. Sasuke carefully sawed at the final slip of paper, wincing as his Sharingan showed an intense flare of chakra from the seal failing. That was surprisingly hard to open. Agreed. That sword of yours was useful for it, though I notice it appears to have cracked slightly in the battle. Sasuke checked it. Sure enough, there was a tiny nick in the blade. He frowned, then turned the sword off and on again. No nick. So it can repair, that's handy. Neji twitched. Sasuke turned to him. Are you well enough to talk again? Gaara frowned. My apologies. I believe the barrel he was in was also under the Shukaku. Orochimaru checked the time. Shouldn't the Sound 4 be back by now? Kabuto shrugged. How's that flame Rasengan going, Sasuke? What about your water one, Sakura? Naruto asked as he strolled into the new training ground Team 7 had been assigned. Since they were working on technique experimentation and blowing things up alarmingly regularly, the third had directed them to one of the areas devastated in the invasion. Sasuke was messing with shape manipulation on the Raijin, trying to get at the source of chakra it represented. A moment's check by Naruto had found that it actually converted nature chakra, so it was as close to a free weapon as there was. A clone of his was staring at a Rasengan with an active Sharingan, occasionally twitching before sighing. The original Uchiha looked over. Hey Naruto. I'm having to use my eye's predictive capabilities to tell when this thing is about to explode. It wastes less shadow clones. If I'm about to do something that makes it blow up, I can just not do that thing. Sakura frowned. Isn't that an information paradox? And morning, Naruto. The Mangekyo Sharingan is known to be able to warp space enough to form a wormhole. Time paradox isn't actually all that far-fetched. Sasuke commented. Oh, what are you doing? Naruto replied with 1,500 clones, which spread out across the training grounds and began to explode. Wind Rasengan. And you, Sakura? I'm actually working on another element rather than going for my first. The last time I got an element, it expanded my available aspects, so I hope I'll be able to maintain a three-way split if I develop enough orthogonal powers. She went through a set of seals and produced a fairly pathetic breeze. Oh, non-native elements are annoying, Sasuke frowned. That's actually pretty good. My eyes ensure the conversion works, but the chakra cost goes up a lot for anything not fire or lightning. A muffled boom echoed across the training grounds and Sasuke went cross-eyed. Clone ran out of chakra from the Sharingan and blew the Rasengan up. That's let's see 30% of my supply gone. I think we need soldier pills. Medic skills? Sakura mused. Might be good, plays to my strengths. Hey Naruto? Think you could get me an in with your great-aunt? You mean Granny Tsunade? Sure, I'll see what I can do. Naruto renewed his clones and pointed to a group of 50. Go ask Asuma-sensei about learning more wind attacks. Sasuke raised an eyebrow, knowing the Fox code on technique mastery. You got the gusty barrier to the point it's one seal. Yeah, all those clones using it in snow were really helpful on that front. You have a stone that channels strange energy? At Temujin's nod, Sakura rolled her eyes. Right. Hey Naruto, Sasuke. This guy's never heard of chakra. It's not chakra. It's jello energy. Oh really? What does it do? It lets people create illusions, fire blasts of elemental power, and regenerate. Naruto nodded, and casually slit his hand open, holding it up as it steamed and closed. Chakra, the seal is bound by my blood. If I use it, it will seal the vein, but it means I will surely die. Naruto rolled his eyes. Right. Give me a bit of that, I'll get a shadow clone to deliver it. Gods, is it just me or is everyone really unimaginative? Wind. Sakura thought, trying for the same sense she had before. Wind dances, flows, cuts and bludgeons. It's the element of finesse, the element of the fine touch and of the vast, seething mass of air that extends above us. In ice, it is the sharpness. It can be the presence, the absence, or the thin boundary between. It is the most versatile and the rarest. It is wind, a wrenching, and the three aspects of Sakura greeted their fourth member, a long-haired girl with a spring in her step and silk clothes that drifted in the lightest breeze. Well, that was strange, Sakura said weakly. You're telling me. Curry of life, that ostrich, the land of birds, hidden star, and I didn't appreciate the whole Naruto is virulently contagious incident, either. You know I have so much chakra that if there was a virus that turned chakra against the subject, I'd basically explode. Sasuke looked optimistic. Surprisingly. Well, here's hoping the next mission is actually interesting. And in a different way to the chakra liquid incident. Yeah, about that. It took you 10 whole minutes to think of using the Raijin on it? What can I say? It was really nasty stuff. Team 7. As one of you has the closest connections to hidden sand we have, you're being sent with temporary extras to help save the current frontrunner in their election, Gaara of the Desert. If this is to save Gaara, then let's go right now. The others can catch up, right? Naruto said, then turned to Sasuke. Can you go and take Nii on a hawk? Or is it quicker if I use Orochimaru? Calm down, Naruto. The sand is far enough away that a few minutes one way or another won't make a difference. Naruto rolled his eyes. And yet it always does. Always. Have you ever arrived 2 hours early to a battle? Or 3 hours late? It's always minutes. Fair point. Alright, off you go. Temari fell back from Kajaku, the strange woman's swords allowing her to match the sand kunoichi's control of the wind. Even her fan, powerful though it was, didn't help enough. Sasuke arrived on the battlefield clone first, his airdropped shadow clone being reflexively taken out by Kajaku as it arrived, leaving an unstable flame Rasengan, which promptly blew up and merged with her wind control layers. Temari winced as the massive fireball engulfed her opponent. Oh, brutal. Is your entire team like this now? Sasuke's mount hovered down to head height. I'm a bit more so than Naruto, Sakura's in the middle. But he still won't tell me how he beat that Sound 4 member. Temari nodded. Oh, hang on. Looks like the swords survived the explosion. Sasuke jumped down from his hawk and went over. Yep, both of them. They're wind-natured according to my eyes, and Naruto's wind element. Want one? Sounds good. Oh, that reminds me. Sasuke tossed one of the swords to Temari. Naruto asked us to say this? Soon as allies, Temari groaned. You're never letting us live that down, are you? Naruto might in a few more years. Kankuro sent his remaining puppet around Ryugen in an arc, trying to stay far enough away to avoid the attacks from the Guardian sword. Ryugen chuckled. You sand puppeteers are never good enough to fight on your own. Always relying on your pathetic little puppets. Kankuro jumped back from a strike. Then drop that sword of yours and we'll call it even. This sword is one of the prized weapons of the artisans of Takumi village. I will never give it up. A javelin pinned his arm to the ground. Sakura appeared from the trees, flanked by otters. Nice situational awareness, there. Ryugen clenched his fists in rage and activated the special mode of his sword again, forming it into a dragon that lunged for Sakura. And he took a vicious chop to the back of the neck. Sakura's clone dispersed as the attack reached it. Looks like my illusions are still up to snuff, too. Who would have thought that a sound displacer would help so much? Oh, and the leaf. Kankuro nodded. Impressive. I like a good illusion. What was that last one? Cloaking, general purpose. It's transparency, sound displacement, and that sort of thing. It means that a lot of the tells that give away a clone aren't there as you're just walking normally while transferring them to the clone. The puppeteer stroked his chin. I might try that sometime. Good luck. It takes me an aspect to pull it off. Suko laughed as he saw another person turn up to fight him. The Jinchuriki of sand wasn't able to penetrate his infinite armor. How could another ninja possibly hurt him? Naruto skidded to a halt. Hey Gaara. What's this guy like? He drains chakra. I think that I do not have enough to overwhelm his armor like you did in the exams. Right. Naruto grinned. Charge. It is hopeless. My infinite armor will. As Suko looked down at his armor as Naruto's one-tail state locked him in a bear hug. Should it be glowing like this? Boom! Bits of infinite armor rained down over the battlefield. Shinobi! Naruto said, then noticed another man at the edge of the clearing. Air summoning, death from above. Hoki of Takumi blinked, still shocked at seeing the infinite armor blow up, then was flattened by a falling no. Impressive. Gaara commented. We must retrieve my student. She is likely distraught. What, from the kidnapping? No. From not having as much of a chance to fangirl over me. Naruto blinked. You have fangirls now? Then grinned. Nice work. So explain to me again why you think taking him out of the village is a good idea? Jiraiya gave a winning smile. It'll give me the opportunity to teach him as much as I know, and to let him get experience in the outer world. Sarutobi just stared at his former pupil. Oh, fine then, it will also get him out of your village while he works on potentially explosive technique experimentation. With more chakra than most bijou to freely access, and thousands of clones. In that case, approved, get him out of the village until things stop blowing up. Hey, your guy, right? Lee-sensei? Yash. That I am, Naruto Uzumaki. What is it you wish to talk with me about? Naruto nodded. Well, I'm off on a training trip soon, and I wondered if you'd be able to teach me how to open the first gate before I leave. Guy frowned. The gates are extremely damaging. Why do you want to learn? Well, I heal really fast, regenerate, that sort of thing, and my teacher, not Kakashi but my other one, pointed out that muscles grow by being torn and then healing. So if I use the strain of the gate to tear up my muscles a lot, and then regenerate them a lot, I could make myself much stronger. The green beast rubbed his chin. I can't say I've thought of that one before, but it sounds like a plan. The first gate is the easiest to open, but I doubt you can learn it in a day. 500 Narutos appeared. I am serious about wanting to learn this, sensei. Hopefully having several hundred clones trying will be enough, as I just need to know how to perform the primary lotus. Very well. Let us allow your youth to explode. One of the shadow clones detonated. Naruto snickered at the shock on Guy's face. He'd been waiting for that line, and overloaded a Rasengan with wind just to mess with the Jonin. So, your time will be divided into several areas. Your own experimentation, of course, but also my specialty, covert operations and spying, and a better taijutsu style for your specialties and skills. Add to that some elemental techniques in earth, and when you hit the jackpot on that one, by the way, only element you might have trouble with is fire, and finally see if we can get your Jinchuriki state stabilized above 3 tails. Ideally you should have the ability to maintain pure chakra cloak up to at least 6. The Nanabai Jinchuriki in the last big war managed that, and then also be able to manage the shift into secondary form as low as 2. Naruto nodded. I do have something of a style, the fox one. It's mainly based on their body form, so not much good in human shape, but it does emphasize tactical thinking and ambush. Never actually get in the fight yourself when the enemy knows it, that sort of thing. Jiraiya accepted the comment, then replied. The frog style might fit you as well, if you ever stabilize Sage mode. It focuses on long-distance movement at high speed followed by single devastating attacks. Could complement the Fox ambush specialization, actually. One for human form, one for not. Sounds good. Now, where are we going? Jiraiya frowned. RHM. Why not start with the Land of Water and go on from there? I hear their civil war is over. It's good to be back. Barely had Naruto said this when a blur of speed arrived next to him, embracing him and leaning on his shoulder. I'm so glad you're back, Naruto. Naruto frowned. Wait, is that Sasuke? You don't know what it's been like. The Hokage assigned someone called Sai to our team. It's been pure hell. He insults everyone and doesn't show a shred of emotion. He took my place as the stoic one. So, what have you been up to on that little training trip? Sakura asked, absently rolling a ball of water across the back of her palm. Apart from becoming about 8 inches taller and developing muscles. Well, for starters, I met your brother again, Sasuke. He said that the core groups for Akatsuki were pretty much finalized. Every ring they have is assigned to someone. The last member of the group is one Haiden, formerly of Hot Springs. This is supposed to be the guy who wiped the village out. He's a worshipper of some dark god called Jashin and can't properly die. Sakura winced. Oh, that name, the dark god one, felt nasty. Foreboding. More of that flashes of insight thing you were getting before I left? Oh yeah? Sakura snapped her fingers, and a shower of droplets flew through the air. It's developing really well, more of an actual sense now. I can sometimes get an idea of what a seal is meant to do before puzzling it out the long way. Tsunade suspects it's because my heritage helps me understand the celestial tongue, and I can see the chakra fields of active techniques. Still got to refine that some more, but Sasuke's annoyed that I can tell which of his attacks are illusions now. Hinata's actually been a real help on that one. We've been sparring with her team a lot if we need more complex tactical situations. Which reminds me, my aspects shifted a year or so ago. I'm now elementally divided with earth, water, wind and fire, and medical chakra is a 5th. 2 at a go still seems to be the limit, Sakura then frowned. But I keep hearing snatches of music, or song or something. I suppose it would be pretty maddening that I can't quite hear it, but it's pleasant to listen to anyway. She perked up. But I did manage to stabilize the water and fire Raisengans, and I'm working on earth, but if you have a good wind I'll grab that off you first. Neat. Anyway, I got down a good library of mid-level stuff in my 2 primary elements, but as you know the important bit for me is always going to be the big booms. Specifically, attacks powerful enough to beat an Akatsuki member without giving up the kind of tactical flexibility a tail cloak doesn't often allow. Sasuke nodded slowly. They're fully aware what tailed beasts and their containers are like, so they'll be ready to fight enemies that are all power, strength and maybe straight-line speed. Not mobility and so on. Add to that the way they all have something that lets them take on an entire village, and you approach the truth. Naruto sighed. You know one of them is so old he actually fought the first? Well, besides Madara. And this guy seems to have come out of it without the massive and crippling damage Madara suffered. Sakura glanced again at the Akatsuki dossiers. Some of them clearly have weak spots, but they're going to be heavily guarded. Not much we can do to exploit the predominantly earth nature of Deidara's clay if he blows us up from a kilometer distance. After all, Naruto shrugged. We'll consider that later. Now, I was mentioning things I did. Most of the big ones are Rasengan based, of course, like how I managed to work with changing the size of it so I can hold one as big as a fridge, or how I finally stabilized the wind Rasengan. It's throwable, too. You just split the wind chakra against your hand to separate it, and it goes flying. But something interesting happened when I combined the two. Watch. The Rasen Shuriken, it was beautiful. Sakura and Sasuke watched in awe as a shadow clone rammed it into the enormous stone target in the experimentation area. The impact broke the stability of the technique, and it detonated. The two were using their enhanced perception abilities to get a proper handle on what was happening, and it was just astonishing. They saw the vortex of wind come apart into innumerable blades of pure chakra that, simply put, diced everything down to the size of dust. It was possibly the most perfect expression of wind chakra they had ever seen. Naruto rubbed the back of his head as it faded. As still not complete. At least one more thing to add to it, possibly two. I want to be able to throw it like the wind Rasengan, and see if I can put another chakra type in there while keeping it stable. If you manage to put fire into it too, Sasuke, what we might get then is just stupendous. Either that or we blow up the village. Sasuke muttered. Good point. Any reason you're not using that soaring short sword I got for you in sand, by the way? Naruto shrugged. I'm not one for swords really anyway, not to mention that I kinda blew it up. Sakura sighed. How? It converts chakra. So I channeled chakra into it. Lots and lots of chakra. Right, say no more. I did find these though. Naruto revealed a pair of tri-pronged kunai from his pouch. Jiraiya wasn't a help. The Thunder God's seals on this are the most ludicrously complex I've ever seen. Where did you get them? Sasuke asked, interested. We went all over the place. Visited the site of Dad's great battles and found a couple left. I think one of them is from stone and the other is left over from a battle on the outskirts of the village proper. That one must be from his engagement with Madara. He never bothered to clean them up much. Sakura took a look and winced. You're not kidding on the complexity. I feel like a book tried to get into my head through my retina all at once. Give me one of them in a month, and I might get something useful out of it. Naruto nodded. No problem. Not as if they're exactly secret, he made thousands. So, same team layout as normal? Naruto shrugged. Either of you made Jonin, by the way? Because that could be important. Otherwise, yeah, whoever has the best plan calls the shots. Sakura shook her head. We're still Chunin. They want everyone that highly ranked to at least have hit 16. They hope it'll prevent us being as screwed up as Kakashi or Guy. Not much chance there, Naruto muttered. That said, Tenten is tipped for it at the next slate of promotions, and Hinata has the skills. Shika might be considered, but it was enough effort to get him to accept the first promotion. I swear he only went to the finals because they didn't have a prelim. Naruto grinned. Sounds like him. How's Hinata doing again? Few confidence issues, but they're nothing to what she used to have. That promotion before you left really helped out, and she's been experimenting with the gentle fist loads. Remember the Kaiten? Naruto nodded. She made a version of it that cuts whatever is inside to bits. She's even working on projectile mode with that gentle step thing of hers, and get this. She got a hair animation technique off Tsunade last year, and she's actually worked out how to project a gentle fist strike with her hair. Sasuke sighed. And I thought long hair was a sign of poor planning. Sakura sniggered. So did her dad. Said she wasn't quite skilled enough yet to allow the handicap of a long, free hairstyle. Then she disabled his entire arm in a single strike with it. Oh, but I forgot, you don't know how everyone else is doing. Everyone in the Konoha 12 made Chunin. Kiba's angling for his elements to qualify for Jonin. Shino's well, Shino. Team 10 are pretty much average members of their clans with the skills of someone 5 years older. Lee's still obsessive about his training. I swear he's breaking the sound barrier sometimes. And Niji seems to have recovered from that whole trauma thing. Naruto nodded. Wait, you said Tenten and Hinata are skilled enough for Jonin? Any idea what their elements are? Sakura nodded. Both of them have water, though Tenten tends to use it in blade channeling to let her use even more ludicrously big weapons and Hinata as a chakra conduction medium for her more arcane stuff. Tenten also has fire, and Hinata developed her wind enough to make her Kaiten variants even worse. How? Let's just say some of them aren't defenses anymore. I still have the memories of being inside her heavenly razor whirlwind. Naruto thought about it, and winced. Kaiten with pure wind nature chakra? Yep. I know that almost anything gets a shadow clone, but that move powderized a log. Team Kakashi, you're needed along with Team Guy to render aid to Sand. Apparently some S-ranked missing nin attacked the village, kidnapped the Kazekage and poisoned one of their Jonin. Kankuro, it says. Naruto swore. Damn, I'm not back in Konoha a day and Gaara gets himself kidnapped again? If this is going to be a regular thing with me in Konoha, maybe we should go on another training trip. Sarutobi sighed. I'm only telling you what the message said. You better get going, knowing Guy he'll make it a race. Sakura blinked, and shifted her aspects to medic/water. Sasuke, get me some water, boil it. Naruto, I might need a chakra transfusion later, this poison is nasty. For now, make sure you have all my equipment to hand. Tenten, do you have any blood pills in your equipment stock? It'll be easier to purge this stuff if I can just get rid of some of the blood with it. Niji, let me know if his vitals change. The Sand Ninja watched with some awe as what had been a pair of ready combat ninja teams changed seamlessly into a makeshift hospital staff. Lee noticed their gaze, and gave a thumbs up. The training given to us by the most youthful Tsunade of the Sannin includes medical cross-education. I am a qualified trauma medic and always carry extra bandages. Temari adjusted her weaponry. Well, thanks. Oh, Naruto? Didn't your teammate give you the other one of these swords? Naruto shrugged. Yeah, but I have several times your other brother's chakra on tap. I pretty much blew it up. I do that a lot. Sakura wiped her forehead. Right, he's out of danger. This poison's vicious stuff, but I've inverted the nature of it with a medical technique. We have enough for about a dozen antidote doses. You actually managed to turn the poison into its own antidote? Temari said, shocked. Yeah, it's a relatively simple concept. You analyze its effects and then, if it's a chakra-enhanced poison like this is, invert the chakra component. What you're left with is something that binds to the same receptors and serves to have the exact opposite effect. Too much of one or the other is of course still fatal, but match the doses and you're golden. Sasuke shook his head. And I'm supposed to be the one who finds complicated things simple. You seem a lot more social, Sasuke. Naruto commented absently as they disassembled the medical equipment. Blame Sai. I wanted to be different from him in as many ways as possible. Team 7 squinted at Itachi's feet. Naruto spoke up. Something I've always wondered. Why do you and the shark guy go around as part of the same team anyway? Itachi barely moved. Kisame and myself formed something of a double act. It's a Bak and Tsukuyomi routine. Sakura stifled a laugh, then realized that she'd happened to catch the reflection of Itachi's eyes as he said that. Exactly? He added, as she fell into darkness. Sakura looked at her surrounds. An illusion world formed from one of Itachi's stupendous techniques. She tried to dispel, to no avail, then her eyes widened as if in understanding. Taking heart somehow, she stared back down at her captor. So, Sharingan illusions are the strongest, right? Yes. Itachi nodded gravely. This one has no counter, and disrupting your chakra does not work as the illusion takes place entirely in your mind. You cannot disrupt your chakra network from inside the illusion, Sakura smiled. Then I have no worries. This technique has a disadvantage. It's that it can only target one person at a time. So, you don't know much about me, Itachi Uchiha. I am Sakura Haruno, born to civilians of no import in the great interplay of the world. Yet I am of divine heritage, and I possess a form of true sight. I have the blood of gods on both sides. I am not one but many. At that point, someone punched Itachi in the back. As he turned, the entrapment fell and released the girl from her illusory bonds. He was confronted with 4 near-identical copies of Sakura, each with different eyes. Aquamarine and sky blue, orange and deep brown. The 5th, with bright green eyes, cracked her knuckles. Aspects, Itachi? I have 5, and my soul is strong enough to support them in tandem. My mind is a fortress against invaders. Something came to her, and the next sentence was not spoken, but sung in a tongue that sounded like music, the meaning of the alien syllables somehow inherent in their very nature. I am the legacy of the gods. And you do not belong here. The world dissolved. Naruto turned to Sakura as she staggered. What happened? He caught me in his illusions. I broke it with my bloodline. Watch out though. Naruto shrugged. I'm not as worried. Millie can break any illusion on me by scrambling her yukai. Point taken though, with that one it might be hours of subjective time before she noticed. Sasuke hissed through his teeth. I just caught it. That's some kind of clone technique. Sakura channeled her gold chakra, activating her true sight. There we go. Yeah, I wasn't looking deep enough. Some self-contained Jonin-level chakra supply there, instead of Itachi proper. Right. With a pop, Naruto, clearly a shadow clone, disappeared. Kakashi glanced behind Itachi, and blanched. Everyone down! Itachi's copy barely had the time to turn in shock as a flurry of wind Rasengan flew in from every direction and shredded him. Sakura jogged over to the mess. Akatsuki robe, missing torso, face looks like a not Itachi person. Really, Naruto? 12 elemental Rasengan, Naruto shrugged. I didn't know how good he was at dodging. His eyes then flickered, and one of my clones reported that Team Guy are fighting Kisame, or a lookalike of him at least. I suggest you get ready for a reverse summon. I need you to check which it is. Does it matter? Samehada is a separate entity to Kisame, and if he can't block elemental attacks I can pull the same Rasengan blizzard trick on him. Sakura nodded, and vanished. 3 clones stood in a neat row, holding the water prison technique on the Chunin of Team Guy. Tenten was flailing around trying to reach a linen storage scroll that wouldn't fall apart in the water prison. Lee was trying to break out by evaporating the water off, and Niji was staying calm and running his Byakugan on high power, straining to see any potential opening. Sakura materialized on a rock. Whew, that's a rush. Okay, that chakra source is barely 3 times normal Jonin level. That's not Kisame. Naruto nodded, and dispelled Nii with him. Another clone next to her began forming a wind Rasengan. Sakura, you get the others out of the water prisons. On it. Tag, Midge, Tarka, Marlene, run interference for me. Her 4 summoned otters nodded determinedly, and plunged into the water, all except Marlene who readied an Atlatl. Sakura then blinked once, going from medical to earth. I plan on using his own terrain to get close to the water clones, then a spread of blasting tags. Naruto, anything you can have your clones do? The clone tossed her a kunai. That's another of me. He'll fire off a great breakthrough on the line you throw him. Really? Sakura switched earth to fire. Then I think we can blast the clones without harming any allies. I'll just throw a fire tech and let the clone boost it. The 3 water clones were focused mainly on supporting the prison techniques. One of their captives was thrashing wildly and almost breaking the water bubble. Another kept unsealing increasingly long polearms, and that clone had to expand the prison to compensate. And the third was trying to use the gentle fist to break the enhanced surface tension and pop the bubble. Thus it was with a certain surprise that a clone noticed the javelin sticking out of his sternum. A hail of other weapons followed, the damaged clone still cohesive enough to dodge them along with the rest and maintain the prison. But the battle was abruptly over when a roaring blast of wind-boosted fire carved the water clones away from the prisons and dispersed them. Sakura skated across the water to a halt. Hey guys, all of you okay? Tenten nodded. I gave everyone oxygen pills as soon as the swordsman summoned a lake. Her arm shot out to grab Lee and prevent him falling in the water. How many times, Lee? Pure fighting spirit is admirable, but it does not allow you to defy physics quite so casually as chakra. Behind Sakura a massive blast of power erupted. She spun to look at it, and heard Tenten muttering behind her. 6 gates? Oh, come on, sensei. That's just overkill. 6 gates? Must be the inner gates of taijutsu fame. Sakura once more switched her non-water aspect to medical, strengthened her sight, and watched closely as Guy beat the Fokisame to death. It was amazing. His body was moving so fast it set the air itself on fire. And it looked like the attacks were based off physical effect rather than chakra. That would be useful if she ever fought another chakra drainer. She hurried over to the site of the battle, forming off a clone to examine the non-Kisame, and scanned Guy for any after effects of the use of the gates. Guy, how has your body not imploded from that? She asked absently. Lee was badly strained last time he opened the third. My constant training is intended no longer to make me stronger, Guy explained. It is to make it so I can withstand the immense strain of the 8 gates. My body has the experience of my age combined with the spirit and endurance of youth. She nodded. Now see, if I ever have to open the gates, I just flood my body with healing chakra to minimize the damage. A most youthful approach. 3 Narutos appeared across the lake. Ah, Guy, you got him first. Sakura, we're moving out. One of Kakashi's summons found the trail. Guy's still capable of movement, don't ask me how, so lead on. Niji extended his senses. 4. There are 4 seals in addition to this one on the cavern wall. Sakura, meanwhile, had been examining said seal. This thing is nasty. It's going on about punishment for the breaker, and defeated by their own power. I hope it's not another damn chakra drainer. Naruto formed another set of clones. I'll get a clone to take each of the seal tags off, and one of Team Guy can follow to make sure nothing too bad happens. Earth, water, rock or grass mounted up to form a copy of the Naruto clone who had taken the seal off. Guy and Lee's fists, Niji's palm and Tenten's ballistic cannonball destroyed the duplicates before they finished forming. Naruto shrugged. That was anticlimactic. Sakura nodded as the dust cleared, then the inside of the cave became apparent. A great, chain statue with a person on each finger but one. Glowing, blue dragons of chakra enveloping the Kazekage. And all but 2 Akatsuki members were transparent. Sasuke's eyes flicked across the assembled members. Itachi, Kisame, Konin, Yahiko, with Rinnegan, Deidara, Sasori, Zetsu, Haiden, Kakuzu. No Madara. His Sharingan activated. And apparently this is more than a normal illusion, it's still there to these eyes. Sakura gasped. That statue is just evil. Or maybe not evil, but alien. There's orange-yellow yukai draining into it from Gaara. It's extracting his bija? But the statue also contains 2 other types. White and green, by the looks of it. Naruto threw a wind Rasengan at the statue, blowing a crater out of it, but it healed itself in moments. Before he could do any more, the last of Gaara's yukai entered the statue and the half-real phantom vanished, leaving behind 2 of the criminal gang and a dead Gaara. There was a whump of displaced air as Naruto dropped straight into his two-tailed state. Deidara grinned. 3 times. Oh, you want the Kazekage? Too bad, you'll have to catch it first. A clay bird erupted from the ground, engulfing Gaara and carrying Deidara out of the now open cave mouth. Naruto grimaced and gave chase, Sasuke after him summoning hawks. Kakashi spent a moment looking at Sasori, then apparently decided that his female student and the amazingly old Chio could handle him and took after the others. Sasuke flew alongside Naruto's running form. Naruto! Drop the cloak and get onto Hayabusa here. Glancing sideways and seeing that Sasuke had indeed summoned a bird large enough to carry them both after the flying Deidara, Naruto let his cloak disperse and jumped aboard. The peregrine summoned a tailwind and soared up into the sky, Sasuke already firing sizzling bolts of lightning from his Raijin. Deidara snarled. I can't just blow them up because the damn Jinchuriki's cloak is down, and he's right next to the summoner. Leader made it very clear that he'd give me back to IWA if I killed the container before extraction. Damn it, he compromised with a shower of clay birds and bats, before taking out a storage scroll and dropping one of his C3 bombs off the side of his bird. Kakashi, racing along after the aerial dogfight, spotted the bomb, easily recognizable from the description given by Sannin, begin to fall. Wincing in anticipation, he uncovered his Sharingan eye and focused. Kamui, a full quarter of his chakra vanished instantly to pay the demands of his voracious Mangekyo, which caught the falling bomb and sent it to Hunuware. A Chidori Senban shower caught the wings of the clay bird, neutralizing the earth chakra in its construction and sending it into a dive. Naruto made a pair of clones who replaced themselves with the main body of the now inert construct, and several more that began tearing it apart to get to Gaara. With a curse, Deidara unsealed a scroll full of clay and began making a new bird, intent on getting away now his pursuers were distracted.